Hello everyone, this is What If Fanfic and today I'll bring you What If Naruto has a special seal. The link to the story will be in the description. If you want to hear a fanfiction, please comment down below. Now on to the story.
In the hidden leaf was a blonde-haired teen whom was Sign sitting in the back of the classroom. He was bored out of his mind and had imagined the surprise on the face of his classmates when they see his change in look and design. The once dead last of the academy was sitting there bored out of his mind and wearing a new outfit. His new look was something that fit more along the lines of his profession. Naruto is wearing a thick black top and long ankle-length pants that were black as well. He had black boots on his feet that had hidden panels inside of them. Around his hands he is wearing plated gloves that were reinforced for the use of deflecting swords when they were swung at him or other sharp weapons. He also had some chakra-resistant armor around his chest as well to give him some extra protection to his most vital spot on his body. The final part of his outfit is a black and green cloak that was given to him from a friend. Today was the day that they were graduated and supposed to get their team assignments. Naruto was not supposed to be here since he was a year behind due to some incidents a while back. He was exempted from most of this process, leading to Naruto becoming the first shinobi to somehow cheat the system even though no one knows his real skill. Naruto reached to his side and pulled out a beautiful silver handle katana and started cleaning the blade carefully that glistened in the reflection of the sun. Shortly after he was done cleaning his sword, he saw some of the other kids walk in, most shocked by his new look and demeanor of being almost apathetic to everything around him. The main students that caught his attention was the Hyuga heiress Hinata, Shikamaru Nara heir, Kiba Inuzuka, Shino Aburame, Sasuke Uchiha, and Choji Akamichi. He saw two were still missing from this room and thus was not shocked to hear rumbling in the hallway and then two fighting their way through the class. They rushed over to Sasuke and started harassing him and wanting to sit next to him. Sasuke was wearing his usual Uchiha outfit with a blue shirt and clan sign on the back. Next he is wearing white shorts, sandals, tapped-up legs, and his black hair in a fashion of a duck head. Next to him was a pink-haired girl with green eyes just staring at him while the other is a blonde-haired girl in purple and long ponytail staring at him with affection as well. Naruto just rolled his eyes and just continued cleaning his sword until a brown-haired man with a cut on his nose walked into the room. He started talking about how proud he is of all of them and hopes they do great things in the field until finally he starts announcing teams. Team 7 is Sasuke Uchiha. The Uchiha grunted, Sakura Haruno. True love conquers all. Sakura, please be quiet. She looked slightly embarrassed before smiling smugly about being on this team with her true love. Ino was pissed and they glared daggers at each other while Sasuke grunted in annoyance. Finally Naruto Uzumaki, your sensei will be Kakashi Hatake. Naruto sighed. Great, hey Iruka, you see him, tell him I'll be at home. Naruto sheathed his sword, opened a window, and fell out of it scaring some of the students. But when Ino saw him walking down the wall she was shocked but then shouted. Baka, how are you even classified as a shinobi, you failed, remember? Naruto ignored her. Hey, don't ignore me, asshole. Naruto raised up a middle finger, angering her even more. Ino, please take a seat. Brr, Iruka sensei, how can Naruto be on the same team as two awesome people like me and Sasuke, huh? Iruka sighed at Sakura's offensive comment. To be honest, if you have a problem with this, take it up with the Hokage as he assigned the teams. Plus you two should know that unlike you two, Naruto actually has real-world experience. He then continued listing the team, confusing the students. What world experience did Naruto have compared to them? At a 3-story house, Naruto walked into the room and saw someone in his kitchen and smiled. So you finished that job early, have you? Standing there was a blonde-haired girl, wearing a white full-body suit that hugged her frame, about C-cup to D-cup breasts, long blonde hair going down her back, and golden eyes. She had a blank expression on her face but carried herself with great grace and power that seemed to come off her in droves. Yeah, the job was easy, Naruto-kun. She walked up to him and kissed him on the cheek, causing him to blush slightly. Good to hear. The payment A's. Got it stored away. Naruto nodded his head and sat down at the table. She put down some specially made ramen in front of him and he started eating it with a little more grace than most have seen him with. A's soon had her own food and sat down in front of Naruto. A's Wallenstein, Naruto's best friend and by his estimations one of the strongest women he has ever encountered in his life. This woman was someone he met during his early childhood and has become a constant traveling companion. More so, their meeting was completely by accident. Flashback. Naruto was happy. The old man finally let him learn some new stuff related to the life of a shinobi. He had told him about sealing and how that it was an underused art form and sometimes even the greatest seal is better than S-class moves. So hearing this he started mastering his handwriting and making it clean as possible. Thus, he was able to start making high-quality seals and sail them through the Hokage who had him as a private seal maker. While Naruto was not a master by any stretch of the imagination, at the age of 10 he was better than most in this lost art. Hiruzen told him how Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage, was a master seal user, and so was Kushina Uzumaki, two people he grew up admiring his whole life. Even he and his students were seal users as well, and their legendary status rose due to this. So Naruto wanted to join that rare list of elites, and he knew just how to do it now. While exploring the old sealing library that the Hokage takes him from time to time, he encountered an old scroll hidden in the back. It was an unknown seal that no one knew how it was created, who made it, or what it actually could do. Strange that it was in a place where a child could get it, but given that it came from a private collection of the Hokage it made sense as well. From this point, Naruto started studying and breaking down the seal based on several parts he was able to pick out. For the most part, it was some kind of teleportation seal that was created to take someone to a faraway place, but it works both ways, so Naruto made sure that he had a copy of the seal in case he needed to return quickly. After spending some time on the seal and creating another version to carry with him, he activated the seal, and the next thing that happened shocked him. Bright lights blared and soon he found himself standing in the middle of a forest area in an unknown region. What the hell? Looking around he soon saw smoke and figured it must be a nearby town, and soon headed off in that direction. While there, he saw the differences in this place from the elemental nations. For one thing, people were talking about adventurers, monsters, demons, devils, and even demi-humans that were animal-human hybrids, he guessed. Finding a stall he asked, "Excuse me, ma'am." The woman looked at the young child and smiled. "Hello there dear, what can I do for you?" Naruto was confused why this woman was nice to him. Every other time in the Hidden Leaf he went to a stall he was yelled at or stuff was thrown at him. "I'm trying to find someplace to do some adventuring, do you know where I would go?" The woman smiled brightly. "Of course, from here go into the middle of town and look for a large brown building. That is the Adventurers Guild Hall, you'll be able to register there." Naruto thanked the woman only to find his cheeks pinched for his whisker marks on his face and being called cute. After freeing himself from her grasp he managed to make it to the guild hall she was talking about. Right before he was to go to the front desk he bumped into a teen about his age. "I'm sorry I didn't see you there." The person turned to him and saw it was one of the most beautiful girls he ever saw in his life. She was wearing silver armor and carrying a small sword at her side with her bright gold eyes looking back at him. "It's fine, I was doing the same." She smiled at him slightly before someone shouted, "Hey, don't think you're hot shit talking to the sword princess like that." Turning his head he saw a silver-haired wolf teen rushing up on him and getting his face. "She is above you asshole, so why don't you get lost?" He grabbed the front of Naruto's shirt while some of the adventurers looked like they were going to help. But Naruto did not need it, given while he might not be a shinobi he did train with a strange man with a green jumpsuit and weird hair. He took the teen's wrist and twisted it, causing him to grunt. "What the hell?" He then kicked his legs out from underneath him and then flung him across the room. He hit the wall with a thud before he then appeared in front of him and punched his chest, sending him deeper into the wall. Enough. Out from the rafters came a red-haired woman with a large buxom figure and wearing an eye patch with one red eye showing. "Sorry about that, I just don't like being manhandled." She smiled. "No problem, I don't allow members to bully other people, especially future members." "That's why you're here, right?" Naruto smiled. "Yep, great, I'm Happy and you're now one of my adventurers, so get ready to get to work." Flashback end. Naruto remembered that day fondly, as from then on he would visit the world when he could and train there to become stronger. He eventually worked up the courage to partner with Ace, who joined him in his party, shocking most people, as she never took interest in joining a party before, so him having her was a big point to sell. From this point, Naruto soon became a hero in the lands and heralded as one of the highest-ranking heroes in a short amount of time. By the time he was 13 he earned the honor of the highest ranking, Adamantite. Shortly afterwards, Naruto soon began building his legacy and doing things many deemed impossible, while he also started to become more of a grand hero never seen before. The worst thing that happened to him, however, was that his party grew to the point that they drew too much attention at points as the strongest adventurers. The group had to separate itself into smaller groups of his group and thus forming many more parties. But that was not the end of his troubles. Naruto would be dragged into this world's holy war, but that is a story for another time. After finishing eating, Naruto heard a knock at the door and saw it was Kakashi Hatake with his silver hair, masked face, and one eye covered by his headband. "Hey, you want to come in? We just finished eating." He shook his head. "I was told by Iruka this where I would find you. Guess this is payback for me being late all the time, right?" Naruto smiled. "You bet, you pervy bastard." He laughed. "Touché." He looked behind him and saw Ace standing there. "Hey Ace, how's your day going?" She snorted. "Not so great seeing you, perv." The man's sweat dropped. "I can't win, can I?" She turned her head from him, making him mope slightly. "So why are you here, Kakashi?" "I'm here to tell you to meet me at Training Field 7 tomorrow at 10 in the morning. So show up at noon. God, is that it?" His sweat dropped again. "Yeah, it is." He then shushined away, leaving Naruto to shut his door and enjoy the peace and quiet with his partner. 2 weeks later, Naruto could not be more irritated at this point. He was so hating the life of a genin compared to his time as a rookie adventurer. More, he was doing nothing more than glorified chores while his teammates saw it beneath them to even do them. Worse, their clients tried to stiff him a few times with fake write-ups, but with Kakashi and the Hokage these were actually doubling his pay. Not too bad on that part. The problem is the jobs, they sucked. During his rookie year the worst thing he did was help find some missing people, take out small clusters of monsters or demons that were attacking nearby towns, and helping stores by being bodyguards from time to time. This was not even that, and he honestly wished to be back in the other world. That is not even including the team itself. Sasuke was useless arrogant prick that felt he was entitled to everything and people should pay him for breathing the same air. That pissed him off, but it was worse thanks to Sakura proclaiming his glory and majesty like he was the greatest Uchiha ever. Naruto could count on one hand at least the potentially greatest Uchiha in history. Madara Uchiha the founder, Izuna Uchiha his brother and almost his equal, Makoto Uchiha the woman that was the greatest female the clan had seen, Obito Uchiha Kakashi's former teammate, and Itachi Uchiha. Personally he felt bad at first for Sasuke, as after his brother wiped out most of the clan he was all alone minus his mother, who was in the hospital still regaining most of her basic motor functions. In fear someone would try something while at the hospital, Hiruzen had only trusted Anbu guarding her room, and even they were not necessary as she had killed a few people that tried to take advantage of the situation. Over time, Naruto's pity turned to resentment as he talked bad about his mother and how weak she was compared to true Uchihas, that he was 5 seconds from snapping his neck. That asshole did not deserve such a great woman, and he would be damned to let her stay to hear this from him. After the exam was over and they passed thanks to him swallowing his pride and feeding his teammates that were tied up, they began missions. Which is leading to their current predicament of getting a mission from Iruka and the Hokage. Today we have taking out the garbage of the village, escorting some clan members to a nearby town, or capturing Tora again. Naruto grunted. That damn cat is at my house, just tell someone to go and get it there. Unless another cat is nearby, in that case leave it alone and it will go home on its own. Understood. Hiruzen put the mission to the side knowing it was complete. What? This was actually a common thing given that Naruto had a cat at his home that was a pet of his friends and took care of it. Turned out that Tora being female found it as a mate and now they spend most of their time together. He was expecting kittens soon from the poor female cat given how much he heard them humping during the night. Now then, Naruto coughed, getting the Hokage's attention. Please tell me that there is something that at least requires us to do something that actually needs shinobi skills. Not something that a garbage man or someone with basic motor skills could complete. Hiruzen hummed. Naruto, you can't talk to the Hokage like that. Naruto glared at the Chunin, making him freeze on the spot. I'm not being disrespectful to the Hokage, but I'm getting tired of these bullshit missions. Naruto walked up and pulled one out of the stack. Dear Hokage, I left a condom in the middle of the park, please send a shinobi to find it and dispose of it. He looked at the Chunin, who frowned at this. Tell me how the hell this mission is requiring a shinobi to complete it. Because only a loser is worthy of a mission like that. Entering the room was Team 8 and Team 10, who were laughing at the comment. The Chunin frowned at the comment. Hinata was frowning while Kakashi glared at the team. Really, you want to know what your sister told me about you when you heard of some of the dangerous missions they did, bedwetter? Hiba froze at this and the group started laughing at him, but Kakashi snapped his fingers. All of you quiet. Naruto raised a point, and thus I think the Hokage is thinking on the matter right. He looked and they saw the Hokage smoking his pipe and looking down in anger and confusion. Yes, I agree with Naruto and Kakashi on this. I will look into this and find out why some of these missions are coming through and will make sure it is corrected. But he reached into his desk. However, you are in luck, Naruto, a job just came in from you know where and they are asking for you. Naruto raised an eyebrow, taking the scroll and reading the contents. What place would Naruto know that would need a dumbass like him? Kiba snickered at his comment but Kurenai smacked him. Sorry Hokage-sama, he waved it off. Don't I will make sure his family knows about his behavior when I pay a personal visit. He glared at the boy and he shut up on the spot sweating at what his mother was going to do when she got her hands on him. I see, so when do I leave? Naruto looked seriously at the Hokage. This mission required him for sure. He needed to leave as soon as possible. Immediately Naruto, I trust you to handle the situation right. Naruto nodded his head turning to leave. Take your team with you, this will be good experience for them. Naruto spun around and slammed his hands on the desk glaring at the Hokage making him jump a bit. Are you out of your mind? You want me to take them with me on this sensitive matter? Absolutely not. Kakashi can go but not those two. The last thing I need is fixing a political nightmare because they didn't know when to shut the fuck up. Kurenai and Asuma frowned but Hiruzen sighed. I know, but it would be good as we are going to be receiving work from these lands more often now and would be good for others to learn of the countries. Naruto frowned, knowing the old man was right about this. Regardless, I will not take them. They will not respect my word or Kakashi and just cause a scene. Rest assured they will behave, their careers depend on it. He glared at the children in question. But Hokage-sama, turning to Kurenai, how is Naruto more qualified for this mission than any of our teams? I mean, he is just a genin. Naruto bristled slightly at the comment. Excuse you, Naruto. Kakashi got between them and turned to Kurenai. If you have such a big problem with this, then why don't you and Team 10 tag along? Hell, we can ask Guy to come with us. I'm sure this would be a great chance to see this new place. Turning to the Hokage, but I'm sure there are stipulations for this, right Hokage-sama? He nodded his head seeing the angry Naruto and knowing his temper was going to burst soon. Naruto is in charge of this mission. Ranks mean nothing in this new world, so if Naruto tells you to retreat you better follow this order or I will hold you responsible for disobeying an order from your village leader, understood? The groups shouted, yes Hokage-sama. Naruto grunted, fine, tell everyone to meet at my place in an hour and pack smart. I find one of you is packed full of useless shit, I will personally strangle you to death. Naruto disappeared in a swirl of leaves and retreating to his home. The room was disturbed. What was wrong with the dead last? They never saw him blow up like that before. Kakashi, everyone saw his attention on them. What is about this place that has Naruto on edge? He sighed. Look, it is not my place to give details, but let's just say this place, Naruto, he is held in high regard and he is afraid that we are going to screw up the relationships there given that he worked hard in building them. So as permission from the Hokage, if you don't follow his orders then you follow mine, which is follow Naruto's orders. The Hokage agreed. Also note there is another person going with you close to Naruto. If you disrespect this person I won't let your families come after them as they are stronger than most Junin on their own. Kakashi shivered. No shit, she almost neutered me a couple of years ago. After an hour of finding Guy and his team cannon, they head to Naruto's place. Whereupon, making sure everyone was ready only after having Ino and Sakura repack, they knocked on the door. Answering, they saw Ace, who looked at them with a bored expression and annoyance given that Kiba, Sasuke, and Lee were looking at her beauty. Hello pervert and friends, please follow me, the seal is almost ready. Touch a thing in this house and I'll remove the offending limb and charge you. She began leading them down the hall, whereupon entering the main hall, Kiba walked up to her and put his arm around her shoulder. So what is a babe like you hanging out with a beta like Naruto? I mean, didn't you know there are alphas like me in this village? Ace narrowed her eyes slightly and Kakashi sweat. Kiba, don't. Come on, I can show you what it means to be a bitch to a real man. She finally gained a tick mark and this leads to her stomping on his foot before removing his offending arm and slamming his face into the floor. She then stomped on the back of his head and with her sword drawn. Tenten marveled the look of the blade, but they saw the anger in her eyes. Touch me again or dare to talk me like that again or even dare mock Naruto-kun again and I'll end your life here and now. She removed her foot and motioned for them to follow with her sword in hand. Upon entering the room they saw Naruto standing there with concentration on his face. Looking at the group he sighed before pulling out a bag. Put your headbands in this now, Junin, remove your jackets and put them in the bag. Why? Naruto glared at Asuma. Look where we are going, shinobi are not exactly welcomed. I'm kinda the exception at this point and I'm still trying to help them, not all of us are the same. But they are not welcoming them into their towns and homes, so please just do this. Your stuff will be in this bag when we come back. Kakashi was the first to do this while having his own traveler's cloak given to him to cover himself up after losing his jacket. Asuma, Guy soon followed suit and by force for some the genin followed. Naruto nodded his head and put them next to the seal and soon they were all standing on the seal. Alright everyone, be quiet while we are in town. Don't mock or taunt anyone, and for Kami's sake let me do all the talking. He then formed one hand sign and slammed his hand on the seal and they lit up before teleporting away. Upon arriving they saw a beautiful coastal and water-based town, and in the town they saw something that shocked them. It was a gold statue of Naruto looking majestic and heroic while people who were animal humans were worshipping the statue. What the fuck? Kiba was the most shocked, but the rest were equally surprised to some level other than Kakashi, who expected this. So we are in the land of Elstia. Yes, Kakashi-sensei, this is the land of the demi-humans. Indeed it has been a long time, Naruto. Turning his head he smiled and bowed to a dark-haired bearded man wearing royal robes and a black-haired woman with cat ears and gold eyes. Greetings King Gira and Lady Kala. I'm humbled in being requested by you. The man laughed before pulling Naruto into a bear hug. It is good to see you, old friend, no need to stand on ceremony here. Naruto smiled and returned the hug before hugged by Kali. Good to see you again, my lady, and may I say you are still as radiant as I last saw you. She laughed. Oh Naruto-kun, you charmer. She kissed his cheeks. I wish Gira was as flattering as you. He makes me feel so old at times. Naruto smiles and sees the teasing smile. Well, I always thought it was weird that he married such a beautiful woman. Is it possible that you were tricked in marrying older? The man looked offended. I'll have you know I'm not that old. Naruto smiled. Compared to your wife you are. He growled and chased Naruto around. You little brat. Ha, can't touch this. Kali laughed before motioning for both to stop. Back to the matter at hand, Naruto, would you mind introducing your extras today? Naruto frowned but put on a smile. Of course. Pointing to Team 10. This is Asuma Sarutobi, the son of the Hokage, and he is a team leader to Shikamaru Nara, the lazy guy over there, Choji Akamichi, the big bone teen there, and finally Ino Yamanaka, the blonde-haired girl. The group bowed to the king minus Ino, who huffed, but Shikamaru forced her with his hand on the back of her head and then glaring at her. Seeing him so serious shut her up. Next we have Team 9 lead by Might Guy. The man flashed a smile and bowed, making the two sweat drop at the odd-looking human. This is his team of Tenten Harugashi, Rock Lee, and Neji Hyuga. The three bowed with Neji snorting at them, making Gira growl slightly. Next we have Team 8 Kurenai Yuhi as the team leader alongside of Kiba Inuzuka and his master Akamaru. Hey, Kiba was smacked by his teacher. Hinata Hyuga, the heiress to the Hyuga clan, and finally Shino Aburame. The two bowed while finally he glared at his own team. This is my team, Sasuke Uchiha and Sakura Haruno along with Kakashi Hatake. Ah yes Kakashi, I heard both good and bad things about you from Naruto. Please note that any perverted actions in this city to the women is punishable by castration. Kali smiled at him and he started paling. Understood, my lady. She laughed and Naruto sweat dropped, but then he sighed when he felt someone on his back. Hello Naruto-kun. There was a pale-skinned black-haired girl with cat ears and gold eyes. She is wearing a black and white top and bottoms while having two swords behind her. She had a budding figure for someone that was about 17 and still maturing, and having the perfect shaped ass and large breasts for her slim figure. Hello Blake, it's been a while. Slut. Sakura pointed her finger at Blake, causing Naruto to freeze in fear. Why else would you dress like that if you were not a slut? Naruto started sweating when he saw the anger in Blake's eyes and the fury in Gira's eyes. What did you? I have to agree, anyone that hangs out with Naruto can't be any better than a whore who would lay with anyone. Sasuke had his nose in the air while Kiba growled. She still make a good bitch. Of course you think a whore be good, Kiba, I mean you would catch STDs from her for sure. What the fuck are you thinking? Naruto finally got loose of Blake, who was in shock by the blatant disrespect she was shown. Whore is she? Gira was radiating a powerful aura with his wife being absolutely feral. How dare you disrespect my daughter, you little bastards. Kali was about to leap at them and the people around them were glaring at the group. Naruto sighed. I just knew this was going to happen, damn you Gigi. Naruto looked at Gira and stood in front of him. Look, I'll have them out of the city, please calm down. The man growled. Naruto, are you? No, I'm not defending them, but at the same time they die by your law's standards, then I'm going to get shit for it back home. Blake looked at him and nodded her head before whispering something to her parents, who then grunted. Naruto, you and A's meet us at the castle. The rest of you, he growled and flared his animal-like aura. Get the hell out of my city, you are all forbidden from returning unless I say otherwise. Be lucky Naruto saved your lives, or I would personally make your families pay for it. Gira walked away while Naruto sighed, glad to avoid at least a potential fight, but saw Sasuke about to speak and growled. One word. Say one more fucking word and I'll remove your guts here and now, consequences be damned. Kakashi, take them out of the city right fucking now. He nodded his head and escorted everyone out of the city while Naruto sighed, feeling A's holding his hand. He looked and saw her smiling at him. It'll be all right. Naruto frowned. I hope you are right. He, Genin and the Junin were waiting on the outskirts of the town. Most of them nervous, as many of the demi-humans that saw them glared or sneered. They knew things were tense, but for some of them, they feel justified in what they said or just did not care. Kakashi on the other hand. Sasuke, Sakura, I don't care what you think of Naruto, I don't honestly care how great you two believe you are, but if you step out of line again, I will drop you both. He glared harder, making Sakura nearly faint while Sasuke glared back. We'll see what the council has to say about that. Kakashi snorted. Go ahead, I don't report to them, I report to the Hokage, and he will have choice words after this is all over. Turning his head, he sees Naruto coming to the group, and he could tell the tension in his shoulders. He was not happy in the least. Our job starts now, and I made some deals. Naruto glared at Sasuke. You say one fucking word, I swear to God I will rip out your heart and make your fangirl eat it. Sasuke snorted. Yay, he found himself on the ground holding his broken nose trying to stop the blood. Naruto stomped on his chest and kept a straight blade sword that he is carrying now at his throat. Fucking, try me. Naruto turned to everyone else. That goes for the rest of you. It took a lot, I mean a lot, to get the country not to blacklist you. The king is furious, and so is the queen, and due to my close relationship with them and their daughter, I managed to smooth things over. He glared harder. However, that does not mean you fucking up is not going to be a problem. They've agreed to give other shinobi and kunoichi a chance but are going to be watching you more closely. After you fuck up again, they will boot your assess out of the village and make sure you never come back. Naruto took his foot off Sasuke's chest and proceeded to walk away from the city while the group only watched in shock. A's knew this was going to happen, so she just followed his lead, and the group soon followed her. Kakashi, walking up to him, asked, So, what is the job? Simply put, Naruto looked at him with a cold gaze. We are to head deep into the forest nearby. There is a cave that is currently housing goblins. Their numbers are massive, and the king is worried about what this might mean. So, our job is to go in there, wipe them out, and find out how they seem to grow at such a massive rate they can hit entire caravans and walk away with almost no losses. I see. Kakashi turned to the group and explained, goblins are small green creatures that usually are distinct to the point that you will see them coming in the opening. However, they are known for being crafty and more brutal than most races. They are known for living in large groups and specializing in different forms of fighting and creating elaborate traps in caves and other deep underground systems. At the same time, most goblins are led by someone powerful or controlled by someone of great strength. Meaning we have to approach the main hold with great caution. Kakashi, turning to Guy, he saw his stern face. What is the protocol in dealing with them? Turning to Naruto, the team felt the eyes on him and sighed. Simple. Stay close. Don't hesitate to go for the kill blows, be quick and precise. Don't fire off dangerous jutsus in tight quarters and rely on each other to deal with multiple enemies at once. Finally, don't hesitate or turn your backs to them. They take advantage of naive idiots all the time, and women are considered either a delicacy or perfect breeding material for them. Wait, Kurenai paled. You mean they? Yes, they capture women from towns and villages and rape them to breed more of their own. Goblins, as far as I know, do not have female counterparts, thus leaving them having to breed with other races. Disgusting filth. Kurenai could only wrinkle her nose at the thought of slimy monsters that would dare lower themselves to this. Not their fault. Naruto frowned at her and did not like the glare she was sending him. They are doing this for survival. So, you approve of such disgusting behavior. What about your teammate? Would you be okay with? Kakashi appeared in front of her and stopped a sword from piercing her face with a deflection via kunai. Damn, I missed. The group looked on in shock at A's holding her sword, aiming to kill Kurenai. She was glaring at her. Naruto has seen the horrors of what these monsters can do, and while he understands, he does not approve. You would know if you bothered to listen instead of making a prejudice opinion. Naruto glared at the group and continued walking on with Guy frowning. Kurenai senpai, that was uncalled for. I agree, assume a blue smoke. The kid is just realistic about the reasons for the race's behavior. He was not saying he approved of it. Kurenai turned her head in shame for making such a rash action. I realize that now. Kakashi sighed. How about we focus on the game plan, that way we don't trip over each other. The group nodded their head at this, with A's catching up to Naruto and saw his tension, so she grabbed his hand and kissed his cheek. It'll be fine. Naruto smiled at her. I know, just nervous. Something about this job does not make sense. Upon reaching the forest and the cave, Naruto and his group waited hidden behind the trees, seeing nothing there but 3 goblins on guard. The genin was shocked at the monsters, small green creatures with yellow eyes, wearing nothing but loincloths around their waists and seemed to carry crude weapons. You weren't lying, Naruto, these things are pretty creepy. Kakashi turned to his student, seeing him and A's were already drawing their weapons. So, what is the plan? Naruto turned his head. Who has good aim? Kakashi turned to his fellow Junin, and they shrugged. We all do, but my student Tenten. Guy pointed to the girl with 2 buns in her hair wearing a pink top and black pants and slipper shoes. She is a crack shot and never misses her target. Naruto looked at the girl and saw that unlike the other girls minus Hinata, she was not a fangirl and seemed to be working on her career rather than her looks. You up for killing some goblins? The girl grinned, but he could see she was nervous. Never killed anyone, but I will help where I can. Naruto nodded his head. Listen, the plan is simple. You are going to hit the goblin that is on the far right while we take out the one in the center and the one on the left. She nodded her head. Aim for his head and make sure the hit is hard enough to go through his skull. Otherwise, he might alert the other goblins in the cave to our presence, and this will get a lot more difficult. Got it. Tenten pulled out a kunai and looked at the goblin that was wandering off away from the group. She watched as he slowly made it to the point where the other 2 can't see him, and Naruto and A's are already in position, weapons drawn. Taking a deep breath, she threw with all her might and saw it whiz into the goblin's skull. The goblin in question heard something coming his way, so he turned to see what it was. Unlucky for him, he saw a metal object go through his forehead between his eyes, and the world went black. The other goblins heard a thud and walked over to see what it was, but before they could, A's appeared behind the one on the left. She slammed her sword through the head of the goblin, leaving him falling to the ground dead. The other one, seeing this, was about to say something until a sword went through his neck and then ripped across, causing it to hang off and then fall. The blood spurted out of his body, and the other goblin collapsed with a thud. Naruto sees these 3 are dead, nodded his head to A's, and they cleaned the blood off their blades. Alright, outside cleared. The group quickly moved to Naruto and A's, with all having varying reactions to the brutal scene. The Junin knew that this was going to be part of the job and was aware that Naruto had a history here. But the coldness of his kill reminded them of Itachi, making all but Kakashi gulp at the thought. As Itachi, while he was many things, a monster being prominent, he was one of the most talented shinobi they have seen and honestly could have become Hokage if he tried. Kakashi, on the other hand, was used to this, considering he was one of the few people that Naruto confided in when he needed it. He was there for him when he made his first few kills and then killed his first person, as monsters were a different feeling altogether. From this point, he assured the team that his feelings of disgust and horror are understandable, but when you stop feeling or just kill for the joy of it, then you must worry. For now, he just had to get used to it. Naruto understood, but it took a while to comprehend the whole message. Soon Kakashi became his therapist about this stuff and the person that he relied on when the times got tough, especially after he was gone for so long, and explained to him what happened during the Holy War. Gon was the child that loved adventures and was willing to get his hands dirty to protect innocent people, now in his place a hardened soldier who drove to conquer everything that comes his way to protect the things closest to him. The genin had varying reactions, with Team 9 being neutral to the scene. Lee understood from his sensei that while he never wanted him to lose his innocence of the world, he had to understand the real cruelty of the shinobi life. He offered the chance to walk away before making his first kill, and he refused, not wanting to turn away from something he knew he could achieve great things. Tenten, she was neutral and impressed someone younger than her could pull off something so brutal in such a short duration. Neji didn't care as the peasant wasn't worth his attention. He should be the one leading this mission instead of him, as he was born to be superior to some filthy commoner. Team 10 was shocked for the most part, but Shikamaru and Shoji held it in better than most given their parents didn't sugarcoat what their lives would be. More in the sense, their fathers explained the brutal nature of a shinobi and what it entails and not the glory that it brings. Both understood and admired that Naruto could be like this as while in class, he was a goofball, but now he was a solid warrior they could honestly say earned their respect. Ino, on the other hand, was thinking. Naruto is a monster, just like the villager said he is. I can't believe he did something so cruel. Delusional to the end. Team 8 Shino and Hinata, while a little pale at all the blood, is more adaptive to this premise as while terrifying, they knew that it was coming. Especially since their parents would not send them into the field blind. Hinata's father, especially since he never wanted to lose Hinata, and when she mentioned her interests in medicine, he thought it was time for the Hyuga to expand and maybe join the medical profession. However, When learning of the mission and that Naruto is leading, he told her to steel her resolve and be ready for anything and be prepared to do things she never imagined to survive. Kiba he was terrified but thinks, if an Omega like Naruto can do this, then so can I. While next to him Akamaru could only rub his nose. After all, he just sensed his partner pissed himself after seeing all the blood. It was sad that the poor dog got such a pathetic partner when he could have done better. Team 7 however, he's a monster, the village is right, he is horrible. I can't believe that he brainwashed people thinking he is a good person. Then those sluts he keeps around, they are just there to trick me into giving up Sasuke-kun. Sakura was horrified, and knees were shaking at what happened before her. That bastard dared to humiliate me, and now he has the gall to use the strength that reserved for an Uchiha. He has no right. I'll show him his place and maybe then those bitches will realize that their true calling is to serve the Uchiha clan. Naruto looked at the group. Alright, listen up, this where following order and not straying from the group matters the most. First, Kakashi and I will take the lead. As the senior Junin and second in command, it is best to have him by my side in case something happens, and he has some of the best hand-to-hand and weapon combat of the group. No offense guy, Asuma. Both men waved it off. Next, Kurenai, you are to pick up in the center. This way, you can cast illusions and have some cover. Make sure you cast them to put them to sleep, as this will give us the best chance to wipe out a large group without much effort and not bringing a swarm down on us. Kurenai frowned but nodded, not like taking orders from a younger and her inferior in rank. But ultimately, the Junin knew the Hokage put him in charge for a reason, so no point in arguing. Looking at the Genin Naruto side, follow in and protect Kurenai. She is vital for this plan to work, and at the same time, have only kunai and taijutsu on your minds. We can't afford powerful jutsus in this cave. Afraid we'll show you up. Naruto glared at Kiba, but Tenten smacked him. He means idiot, close quarters like this, you could bring the cave down on everyone or injure the group due to how dangerous some of them are. Exactly, Naruto nodded his head to her, so for now on use only weapons and taijutsu. If you are using hand-to-hand, please aim for the kill shot, as this will promise our safety. Shikamaru and the others agreed, minus the 4 assholes who were wanting to ignore him. Neji just refused to listen to a commoner and someone that is his junior and should not be speaking as if he is superior to him. Naruto looked at Guy and Asuma. You two, I want to cover the group on both sides and checking corners. If there are hidden passageways that we miss, I want to know, as this might use them for performing a pincer attack. Got, Yash, Naruto-san, I shall make sure my flames of youth snuff out these horrible creatures. Naruto laughed a bit. Good to know. Turning back to the cave, alright, let's get moving. A's cover the rear in case someone falls behind. Right, the group proceeded down into the caves. While traveling, Naruto had a torch out to light up the way, and when passing by a nearby hole, he saw nothing there. He whispered, no totem. Kakashi looked at his student. What is wrong with no totem? Naruto turned to him. Usually a group of goblins this big would be led by a magic caster goblin. However, the lack of a totem means that they are not. Isn't that good? Asuma frowned at the negative speak. No, it is bad. This lacking sign means I have no idea who is leading them or how strong they are. Naruto grimaced. If worse comes, as a goblin champion or lord comes into the mix, I might have to pull out the big guns, and I hate doing it, especially when there are some things I still haven't told the Hokage yet. Follow behind close, and if anyone wanders off, Ace finds them immediately. She nodded her head, and they pressed on. Once they walked about a mile or so, they found a room with light in it. Naruto motioned them to shush so he could peek out, and is surprised to see a vast open space that looked too much for an ordinary cave. In fact, at the bottom of the hole, he saw the goblins were all gathered down there, enjoying the fire, talking, and disgustingly raping some of the women they had on hand. Shit, we got hostages and rape victims. Naruto motioned Kurenai up. She was horrified of this information. Listen, here is what you're going to do. I want you to put all the goblins to sleep and the victims. This way, we can move down there quick and start killing all the goblins that are there. Okay, but what about the women? Naruto frowned at the question. Kill the goblins first and then save the women. This ensures we are free to leave without resistance. But shouldn't we save them first? Turning to Hinata, he shook his head. No, sadly, it is easier to deal with the goblins now. That way, we can have a clear path to the surface. Now please cast the illusion. Kurenai nodded her head, and after doing some hand signs she said, Genjutsu. Eternal slumber. The goblins below them started yawning from the sudden sense of being tired before finding it too hard to stand up or stay awake. In time the group passed out, and the party proceeded down the pathway. In doing this, they managed to deal with the enemy in question by quickly taking a group and starting to dig their kunai and daggers into their chest. Doing this, Ace and Naruto were moving faster than the others after going from head to body to make sure they stayed down. Kakashi and the other Junin were working with the genin showing them what they needed to do. Most took to it okay except for a few. Ino refused, claiming she wouldn't be a murderer like Naruto and his friend, Sakura, sharing the same opinion while Sasuke and Neji declined to claim it beneath them to do the work of peasants. After killing the last goblin, Naruto heard thuds coming from the side. Incoming people, we have an enemy on the way, must be the leader. The group formed upon each other. Out of the darkest part hidden by a cloth came a monster. However, unlike the goblins, this being was as tall as a tree, built with large muscles, dark gray skin, golden eyes with black surrounding the eye, and small horns coming out of his head. The man had a giant club in his hand and was glaring down at the human filth before him. So, this is why my soldiers are not responding to my calling. Stupid goblins, useless all of them. Naruto narrowed his eyes. A troll, how lovely. Nobody does anything rash, we need to. Neji without waiting charged the monster. You will fall, fool, as it is fate's decree to fall to a superior being. Without warning, he threw some powerful strikes of Jukin into the monster's leg and leapt up to hit it in the face and chest. Whoa, he is moving so fast. Hinata, is that your family's taijutsu style? The shy girl grew red in the face of the attention. She hated when people looked at her. Well, not everyone, but still just when there is so much on her at one time. More she hated it when the girls ask her questions. Yes, it is my cousin is strong in the art style of using this to fight. However, the problem is that while talented, he's still a member of the branch family, so his talent does not mean much to most. She frowned deeper, thinking about other reasons she did not like her cousin anymore. Okay then, that explains the fate stuff he is always going on about. Turning to Tenten on the comment, she sighed. Yes, sadly, he has become obsessed with fate and deems it the one true divine thing in this world. Naruto growled in annoyance. It must be some kind of day to piss off Naruto or something. Everyone just wants to see me pissed. Ace sighed. Well, he is about to learn a harsh lesson in dealing with trolls. Naruto nodded after seeing him hit the troll in the chest again and then landing on the ground with a smug smirk. Fall like the weakling you are. Naruto sighed. Yeah, that doesn't work. Trolls have tremendously hard skin, making them impervious to most physical attacks other than by weapons. Hand to hand is pointless unless you are of their species or a superior species. HMPH, as if a filthy commoner like you knows, Naruto quickly pushed the boy out of the way when the troll lashed out and slammed his club into Naruto, sending him flying. Naruto. Ace was furious. She turned to the monster. Ha, so that is the legendary hero. What a joke. First I think I'll kill him to boost my standings, then I'll kill you men and that stupid dog, finally take the women as my slaves to breed a new army with. He raised his club again, but this time fell to the ground. What the? Looking down, he saw his right leg cut off from the knee, and he had fallen due to the lack of balance. Turning his head, he was about to say something until he found himself hit in the face with a sharp object. You bastard, how are you moving after that strike? Naruto had recovered quickly, but the group could see his right arm broken as it hung limply at his side. More, he had a cut on his forehead and blood streaming down his face. But the thing that scared the teens and made the Junin on edge is that one of his eyes was red with a slit in them. Simple fool, you're too weak to oppose me. The darkness in his tone was sending shivers down the backs of everyone present. The troll looked into his eye and swore he saw a dark silhouette appear behind him. It took the form of a red fox with red eyes glaring down at him, 9 long tails flowing behind it lazily. But it snarled at the man looking at the troll as if he was prey. No, he knew that he was prey to this monster, no, this demon among humans. You're not human. What the hell are you? I'm just a hero that is pissed off and wanting to end this stupid mission and head home. Without warning, he swung his blade, removing the troll's head from his body before sighing. That's that. Naruto sheathed his sword and walked off the corpse of the monster, seeing the group looking terrified at him except for Ace. She just nodded her head, understanding why he was so furious. Turning around, he saw Neji glaring at him, so he walked up to him. Neji sneered. What do you want, peasant? Crack. Without warning, the teen's head flew back, and he found Naruto sitting on his chest. Another fist rained down on him, breaking his nose for sure, then he smashed his jaw, probably breaking his jaw. The teen tried to get up but found the pressure put on his chest was too much, so he resorted to trying to buck him off. Sadly, this failed due to Naruto just sitting there on his chest and beating on his face. You fuckers seem to be under the impression you're superior to me. Well, let me put it frankly for all to know, in this world, I'm the strongest. Hell, in our world, I'm sure I'm among the strongest, not because of my shinobi skills but what I can do outside of that. My power, speed, and agility and intellect surpass you, fool. But you just keep pissing me off and trying to become superior to me by attacking unknown variables without heeding my warnings. He then sighed, stopping his punching before a black aura formed around him. You know what irritates me more than any of this? I'm trying to keep you all alive, so it is one less thing I fall asleep seeing in my nightmares, but you keep doing it. I hate people like you, but I'm not going to let you throw your lives away due to your egos. But if you ever, and I mean ever, try to disobey me or go against me in this world, he glared at the teen, and he swore. His eyes turned black and red outline for his eyes. I'll kill you myself. Naruto turned his aura off and got off the teen's chest before sighing. Check the survivors and take them to surface. Anyone not doing that makes sure the corpses are corpses. If not sure, just put your kunai through the head again to be certain. Naruto proceeded to the curtained-off portion of the cave. I'm going to see what the troll was doing here. The group got to work with A's helping the women and the children that were in the cave, while Kakashi was keeping a close eye on the genin, to make sure they don't follow Naruto. He was sure while the boy didn't want the political backlash, he was confident that no matter what, he was going to kill the kids if he pushed any further. He made it clear, he protected them from Gira and his people executing them, but he was not going to defend them if they put his own life in danger. Knowing this fact, the clans would be required to pay him back for all the damage he suffered and the insult to the royal family. Kakashi. Turning, he saw Guy looking at him. I'm sorry about Neji. I have tried to cure him of his unhip attitude, but sadly, that has not been possible. I've noticed, but I wouldn't worry about it too much. Stuff like this happens more often than not with Naruto here. I'm curious, my rival, does you know a lot about this world? Kakashi nodded his head before grabbing Sasuke by the back of his shirt and tossing him back over to the group. Those goblins still need stabbing. Get to work. I'm a Uch. Finish that sentence, and I promised I'll remind you what happened the last time you claimed that. He glared at the teen who snorted and got to work. He didn't want to be buried up to his neck in the dirt again. But back to your question, Guy. Yes, I know a lot about this world through Naruto. Honestly, I'm one of the few that knew of its existence before coming here. Then, could you answer something about the town we were in a while back? Sure, what is it? Guy took a deep breath and asked. What is the deal with the golden statue? Kakashi rubbed the back of his head and laughed. That, well, Naruto told me once, and at first, I didn't believe it, but after he showed me more proof, then I started to. He pulled out of his pocket a book and handed it to Guy. He looked at the cover and read, Followers of the Hero. Yep, that is essentially a Bible based on following Naruto as some sort of god. You could hear a pin drop in the cave. No one could say anything other than just staring at Kakashi. Kurenai was the first to recover. Very funny, Kakashi. Oh, I'm dead serious, Kurenai. I had a hard time wrapping my head around it, but after so long, it seems to be true. The demi-humans view Naruto as some kind of divine deity and should be worshipped as such. What the hell, the Dobi? Hiba shook his head. It's impossible. I mean seriously, he failed the year previously. Indeed, Neji snorted. That foolish asshole is nothing special. I know from personal experience since he refused to show up to class that year. Kakashi frowned. Well, Fate's bitch. The room snickered at the nickname while he glared and he just rolled his eyes. Naruto was busy at that time in this world when something came up. It is not my place to speak about it, but you should know the world is in better shape than it was about a year ago. Indeed, A's looked at them. Before this the countries were always on edge. But thanks to Naruto and his movements, we have managed to make most countries come to peaceful terms with each other and remove many of the corrupt politicians in power. Interesting. The group jumped, hearing Sakura scream, and saw that she was attacked by one of the goblins. It had faked his death, and when Sakura kicked him, he leapt up and started attacking her, cutting her up severely. But A's quickly decapitated the monster, forcing it to fall over. However, the creature's blood spurted out of the body and covered Sakura head to toe in blood, and she only screamed more. Who the fuck is screaming? It's Sakura. Naruto-kun. Fucking figured. Tell her to shut up, even the dead have ears. Sakura, having been dosed with blood, jumped to her feet and shouted. Shut, you fucking son of a whore. Sakura got no response and smiled smugly, thinking she finally shut up the Dobi. showing him that he was. The train of thought stopped when a sword is glistening next to her head, showing she cut the cheek. You ever disrespect Naruto's mother again and I personally will remove your head from your shoulders. Turning her head, she saw A's, but unlike regular blank expression, there was fury in her face. Her eyes were glowing gold and seemed to have a fire emerging from her right eye. Her body was covered in a golden light and thus making the ground crack beneath her. But before this could go any further, Naruto shouted, "Fuck, A's, take everyone and get out, I got a new problem to deal with right now and don't need the distractions." Right, grabbing the girl, she motioned the Junin and Genin, "Follow me and stick close, we have to get out of here now." Kakashi and the others nodded, grabbing the Genin and started moving at a fast sprint. The women were picked up by shadow clones of A's and the Junin. The hell is going on? Simple, something is coming, and Naruto needs us out of the way so he can do his job. Kakashi's eyes widened. You don't mean those things summoned? Yes, they did from what I can sense. Kakashi gulped. What the fuck are you guys are talking about? Turning to Asuma, he whispered. A demon? Those monsters summoned a demon to this world. A demon, you mean like the Biju? Kakashi shook his head while seeing the aura back in the cave was getting heavier, making him move faster. No, the Biju are created from chakra, so they are like a physical manifestation of pure energy, while these things, they are real demons. The kind that enslaves inferior races, eat humans, rape and pillage whatever they want. Honestly, Naruto and his friends told the Hokage and me about some of these demons, and let me tell you, we are lucky they never found a way to our world. Those things are worse than any of the Biju or enemy shinobi could be. How bad can they be if it takes Naruto to beat them? Shikamaru was trying to analyze the situation and study how much Kakashi knew. From what he can gather, he is right about these demons, as he sensed an ominous presence in the cave, but he was not sure who it was. Back in the cave, before everyone took off, Naruto was busy looking around the room of the troll. He noticed that it had a tattered flag hanging above a throne that seemed to be made of the corpses of people it killed. So, he is a survivor of the Holy War. That crest alone tells me that he a follower of Higmek. The crests were important to monsters as this signified their gods and who they worshipped or revered too. This one was the god of all orcs, trolls, and goblins, and thus was known for bloodlust and chaos. Seeing this made Naruto realize that he looked down on the floor and saw a transmutation circle with a pentagram in it. From this, I see, so you were trying to summon your master into this world. No telling who, though, gods are forbidden entering the mortal realm. So, who were you trying to summon then? Naruto looked closer at the circle and saw that it was made of human blood, as trolls bleed black while humans bleed red. Meaning that this monster was using humans for this ritual. Before Naruto could examine it more closely, he hears a scream that sends him falling back on his ass and holding his broken arm in pain. Damn it, who the fuck is screaming? It was Sakura Naruto-kun. He growled, note to self, never bringing these damn fools on another job into this world. It was too much trouble. Fucking figured, tell her to shut up. Even the dead have ears. He stood up and proceeded to look closer at the circle but heard Sakura shout something at him. He didn't bother to listen in closer, but he noticed something off about the ring itself. It was glowing, meaning it was ready to bring something to this world. How I didn't give it any blood, and I know that. Then it hit him, the goblins. They bleed red and might not be worth the same amount as humans are. But they still make up a considerable amount, so it is possible that through the absorption of the blood on the ground and the goblin that was still alive, this means the circle worked. Or that it cut up Sakura badly and was absorbed into the ground. Fuck A's, get everyone out of here. I'll handle this, but I can't do it if they are all here. He felt their presence moving away from his location and turned back to the circle. He saw a dark-skinned woman with red eyes appear with short red hair and a white bird on her shoulder. Well, if it isn't the legendary hero that I heard so much about in the underworld. You look worse for wear. Naruto grunted. A demon, go figure, guess the troll knew how to do some things right. He glared. So, who are you? She smiled. My name is not important, but you should know that I'm going to be the demon that killed the legendary hero. Naruto shook his head. I doubt it. Naruto sighed. So I guess that you're some lower-ranked demon that was summoned here by the troll as it couldn't summon who it wanted originally. The woman shook her shoulders. Who knows, that damn thing might be smarter than goblins, but it is not by much, I'm afraid. But it won't matter, I'll be able to summon my love to my side. Then we can both bask in the fact that our master will be pleased with our effort. Naruto glared at her. So, you're a minor demon then. Guess that makes sense while you're not powerful. I can tell you're going to be a pain in the ass for sure. She glared at the teen. Bold talk from a man about to die. With your death, my master. Naruto sighed and rubbed the back of his head with his left arm. Man, I hate doing this, but with my arm this way, I can't afford to screw around. So, I guess you get the VIP session, bear witness to the last thing you'll ever see. Standing there, Naruto started to glow brightly, and the demon noticed something was happening. Whatever it was, she did not like it as it reminded her of those damn priests that sealed her kind away ages ago. Go, my loyal pets. Out of the shadows came dark monsters like cats that charged at Naruto but were destroyed upon reaching him. Naruto soon glowed so brightly that the entire cave was basking in the light and blinding the demon. The light dimmed, and she was shocked to see what was standing before her. The teen before was now gone, and in its place was a man wearing lightweight white armor. His right arm is covered in the armor plating to shield it, and out of his back was 12 white wings of pureness. Above his head was a halo. His eyes were now calm blue but swarming with power. No, you can't be a seraph. They wouldn't dare to enter this world. You're right about that, but you see, I'm not a seraph. I'm a human that can take the form of a seraph. So, I guess you can say I'm them without all the pesky restrictions. Naruto snapped his finger and created a sword made of light with a handle. Now then shall we dance? The demon growled and fired off more of her minions who died upon reaching him. Naruto strolled to her and frowned. For a minor demon, I was expecting more, but if this is all you can do, throwing minions at me, then I guess it was pointless in me doing this. However, I hate wasting time and thus have to end this, for your sinful nature is sickening to me. He aimed his sword at her and made a dash and sliced off her arm. She screamed from the pain and moved to the other side of the cave. Need a hand, she smiled. Not from the likes of you. She looked at the bird on her shoulder, and it quickly covered her in a green aura. This regrew her arm and made the one on the ground turn into larva. Disgusting, you demons are bastardizing the purity of that animal. The woman smiled, and her nails glowed red. Fuck you, you self-righteous angel. Crashing jail. Soon a black cloud crashed down on Naruto, and she dashed for the exit. If I can get out of this cave, I have a chance to kill some humans and increase my strength, and then, she found herself shocked when running into some kind of barrier. Hitting it, she noticed it was a holy barrier making her gulp. Standing there unharmed from the attack was Naruto, but he sent away his sword and soon formed holy spears behind him. Now then shall we end this farce? She frowned. She knew she was screwed no matter what. Accepting this, she waited for the attack with one more taunt. So, you know my love will hunt you down and kill you for what you are about to do to me. The seraph smiled. It matters little to me if he is as weak as you, then it won't be a problem, so please cease your existence, your demonic scum. He snapped his fingers, and the holy spears sped at her, causing her to scream from the pain. An explosion rocked the cave, and Naruto quickly teleported out of there, letting it fall in on itself. Outside the cave, Aiz watched and waited and saw the place falling apart. She knew Naruto was dealing with the demon down there and that he would just teleport to safety. Knowing him as she does, she knows he is using his seraph blood to defeat the demon due to his injured arm. Without the wounded arm, he could have killed her easily, but better not to risk it, no. So, with Naruto still in the collapsing cave, can we just assume that Kiba was stopped when Kurenai squeezed his shoulder with a glare? Hey, turning their heads, they see Naruto walking to them from a nearby tree line. Naruto, turning to Aiz, I'm glad you're safe. Naruto smiled and pulled her in close before kissing her gently. I'll always come back to you, my love. After all, we made a promise, remember? She blushed and turned her head away. Kakashi watched the scene with a smile on his face while looking up at the sky, whispering, Sensei, I promise your son is doing well now. He has so many wonderful things and has accomplished so much in a short time. I know you two would be happier to be here with him, and you two would have loved her. He imagined a smiling red-haired woman standing behind Naruto and a blonde-haired man also standing there watching on with smiles on their faces. It brought a tear to his eyes. He was a proud older brother. Especially to a man that achieved his dream of having a harem of his own even if he never wanted it. Damn it, he was so jealous right now. While walking back to the city, Naruto was looking through all the women they had managed to pull out of the cave. Turning to Aiz, she confirmed, there is a total of at least 20 women here. Most are victims of horrible sessions of rape and brutality. However, the child, pointing to a small girl with cherry blonde hair and dark green eyes, she seems to be without a mark on her minus the occasional scratch and violent strike. Most likely due to her resisting or trying to flee from the goblins. Naruto sighed, Figures. Okay, well, let's get them back to town and we'll have them taken the shrines. In the background, the shinobi were watching Naruto commanding the situation while the women that were saved from the cave were trying to stay as close to him as possible. Sasuke was glaring him, hating the fact that Naruto seemed to have some power he wanted. Kiba hated that he was an alpha male when in his mind he shouldn't have been more than an omega while he got all the bitches. Sakura and Ino were annoyed that their Sasuke was being treated like shit and that Naruto was the one doing it. Neji was silent in fear of his teacher or Naruto lashing out again and this time maybe ending his life. But he still was irritated that some damn peasant assaulted him and he would get even with him no matter what. The others were just shocked with how he was handling things, minus Kakashi, who looked on knowing the horrors that they saw was irregular for Naruto. Naruto. Turning his head, he saw Kakashi looking at his limp arm. Are you going to be okay on the trek back to town? Naruto smiled slightly. Yeah, I'll heal. Thanks to my bloodline, this should be done in a couple of hours. Bloodline? How can some nobody like you have a bloodline? Turning his head, Naruto narrowed his eyes at Kiba. I do as an Uzumaki, and fair warning, I'm already on edge with how things have gone. Not only have most of your fuckers gotten the king so pissed off at you, you insulted his daughter, made me have to negotiate out them cutting you open in front of the people and force-feeding you your goddamn spleen, but finally people seemingly ignoring my orders. Glaring at the group, they all took a step back. Make no mistake, this is going in my report to the Hokage. Once he gets his hands on all of you, I can assure you this mess is going to piss him off and some of you might be lucky to keep your headbands, let alone your status as clan members. Because I know for a fact that most of your clans are going to be having to do some serious negotiations to appease the nobles in this world to prevent excommunication with these lands. Naruto turned from them. Now come on, we should head back to town and get these women some help. The rest of the walk back was silent. Not that the Junin were going to allow the rowdy bunch to say anything, neither were the other genins, knowing they were as a whole in enough trouble today. Especially with the nobles in this world, they just hoped their own families did not get angry at them for this mess. The Junin on the other hand were having a conversation. Kakashi, do you think there is any way we can convince the king to let us apologize or at least not blame us completely for the genin? The silver hair man sighed to Kurenai. Honestly, I don't know. The way Naruto explained it to me a while back, demi-humans were already shit on and disrespected and made slaves by humans for hundreds of years. They just now are forming their own countries and are not willing to surrender their freedom again. As he puts it, respect them, they respect you, but piss them off and they would have your head by the end of the day. That is pretty brutal but understandable. Yash, I wish to show them that I, unlike many, have a youthful personality and wish to be nothing more than ally to them in the future. Guy smiled brightly and Kakashi laughed. Trust me, Guy, you'll earn their respect, I have no doubt. What about you, Kakashi? Turning his head back to Kurenai, who was looking at him in confusion. You are acting differently in this world compared to normal. What do you mean? I mean you're taking orders from someone that is lower ranking than you. Naruto knows the most about this world, so it would be stupid not to listen to him and follow his directions. You are not reading your porn in public. First, it is art. Second, Naruto asked me not to do so, and with the threat of the queen I understand why. What about the fact you're focused? Honestly, is it that hard for everyone to see me as a responsible jonin? His sweat dropped when he saw all of his colleagues and the other genin nodded their heads. He dropped his head and Naruto sighed. Eyes up. We are at the city gates. Arriving there, the group gulped, seeing two people standing at the gate waiting for them. One was a dog-like man while the other had a fox-like form, with their heads being the animals they were. Naruto-sama, welcome back. Naruto laughed at the wolf. Thanks. Listen, we need to bring these women to the temples, so do you mind if this gentleman joins me? He points to Kakashi and the two men looked at him while frowning. The town has heard about. I assure you on my honor as the hero of heroes that he is a man of great respect. Plus he is someone very close to me. I promise he won't cause trouble and the others will wait here before they even try something like getting into the city. The two guards glared at the group and the silver hair man, who sweated at the attention. Finally they relented on their pressure. Fine, he can come in, but he tries anything, the people will tear him to shreds. Plus the others are not allowed into the city. Naruto nodded his head, and when he saw Sasuke about to say something walking up to him, he motioned Ace, who quickly kicked him in the face with a backwards kick. Sasuke-kun. Everyone covered their ears, but the fox screamed. Shut the fuck up, some of us have sensitive hearing. Shut the hell up, you. Hinata struck Sakura in the neck, knocking her out. Hinata. Turning to her teacher, she poked her fingers together. Ace just raised an eyebrow at this. Surprising but expected. We'll be off, everyone please behave and we might be able to sleep here for the night. Soon Naruto and the women along with Kakashi and Aize walked into the city. After crossing a small bridge they arrived at the shrine, which Naruto introduced the women of the shrine as priestesses and explained what happened to them. They were horrified at what happened and quickly brought the women to be healed. When they tried to leave, the little girl clung to him and he smiled at this, hugging her and promising to come back soon for her, just that they need to check her. In ways a boy can't see her, but he would come back tomorrow and get her. Upon completing this, they walked to the castle, which saw Gira sitting on his throne with his people surrounding him. His wife at his side smiling at him and their daughter standing behind her father as one of the highest-ranking soldiers in the kingdom was supposed to. Lord Gira, we have managed to wipe out the goblins. He smiled. Excellent. Did you run into any trouble? Guessing from the way your arm is mangled, I'm guessing yes. Naruto scoffed, just having to save an idiot from charging a troll that was in the cave leading the goblins. A troll? Gira was shocked and so was Callie. What the hell was a troll doing out this way? Not sure, but I found in his old cave home that he was a follower of one of the forgotten gods. The man narrowed his eyes. The fallen gods, huh? Figures, those damn monsters and idiot zealots are always trying to summon things that they don't fully understand. Especially since none of those beings really care for their damn followers. True, sadly through some dumb luck the monster managed to summon a demon, and even with my injuries I was able to defeat the demon in question, but apparently they are now finding ways back into this world. Gira sighed. That is disturbing. I guess now I have to contact the demon kingdoms and ask for their assistance in how the hell dumb-ass creatures like that troll are finding stuff like this. Agreed. Naruto filled in the rest of the report, but something was lingering in his mind. How did the troll summon a monster to this world? They were dumber than most creatures, so the fact that he succeeded in summoning anything is impressive. That is what terrified him more than anything. Someone or something was teaching them how to do these rituals. Naruto was not naive. He knew he made a lot of enemies over the years, both with his actions with the demi-humans but more so in the war and the fact that turned out some noble families and revealed their dirty tactics and dealings. Ultimately he was convinced that someone in this group of enemies must be trying to bring back the fallen gods in the hopes of usurping the now rulers and return it to where they ruled or had a high-ranking position. But this was something that could wait, as right now he just convinced the king to let the shinobi to stay in the city. However, he was to give them a warning, and one that he knew someone was going to try and test the limits of patience of both him and the royal family. Exiting the throne room, Naruto turned his head to Kakashi, who looked at Naruto and saw the look in his eyes. Make sure everyone knows how serious this situation is, I mean really stress it to everyone. One fuck up, that is all it is going to take, and I don't give a fuck what the village or clans say. I will kill the person responsible and present their heads to the royal family. All in the name of Konoha and protecting the Hokage. Kakashi looked him in the eyes and narrowed. Naruto, I will make sure they know their place, and they fail to remember, then I will show them why I'm a Junin and they are nothing more than genin and stress to their families, the danger they put everyone in. Naruto nodded his head and soon they arrived at the gate, and Naruto saw the group glaring at him or just staring, wondering what is going on. Alright, listen up, the king and his family are allowing us to stay the night. He needs to organize the payment and reports, so it is going to take the rest of the day. Due to what happened earlier and the deals I had to make, I'm able to communicate that the king is only allowing this on my wishes and wanting to make good with our village leader. However, I would like to show you all something. Snapping his fingers, out of the shadow came 4 figures, each wearing white masks and wearing black and white armor. These men here are equal to Anbu and they are known as White Fang. Fuck up and they will kill you. Go somewhere you are not supposed to and they will kill you. You so much as even piss in a direction that insults their people and they will take your fucking head. Is that clear? The group nodded their heads, with the usual assholes just snorting, but one good smack on the head by the Junin and they grunted, understanding the seriousness of the situation. Good, now while Aize and Kakashi show you to the hotel, I have some work I need to take care here. Please be on your best behavior and pray that the people don't spit in your food for how you talked about their princess. Naruto soon turned on his heels and walked away, with him soon swarmed by citizens asking to speak to him and him smiling. He laughed at some and offered small amounts of money to the people that were nearby and looked like they really need it. At the same time a child walked up to him. She looked to be about 6 and tugged on his pants, wanting his attention. Smiling down at the child, he picked her up and tickled her, making the child laugh. Naruto is good with people. Asuma blew some smoke watching the scene and smiled. His father was right about the kid, he really was perfect to lead this mission. I mean, look at that, even with his arm still injured he is playing with kids and shaking hands with people. Yes, Naruto-san's flames burn brighter than any. I'm truly amazed, my hip rival Naruto truly is worth following. Kakashi smiled at Guy. Yep, helps that the people here worship him and he has a strong bond with their king and his family. Naruto had put the child down and handed her a stuffed animal, and she hugged it vigorously while kissing him on the cheek. Naruto laughed and pat the child on the head while her mother took her away from him, thanking him for keeping an eye on her. Naruto's heart is big. Kurenai smiled. Naruto at first was someone she was worried about following, but now she could see that he was a natural leader and he was so used to leading that it was second nature to him. Indeed, Nayo. Turning their heads, they saw a man with 2 rapiers standing behind them with a green and white suit. This man also had a gray cat head with green eyes and white spot patterns in his ears. "Who the fuck are you?" Kiba pointed at the man while his partner smacks him on the head with his paw. He barks at the cat man and he waved. "It's fine, just keep your pet on a leash, Nayo." Bark. "Hey." Kurenai this time smacks him. "Apologizes, sir. My student is not used to seeing people like you and thus freaks out about it, especially since he comes from more of a dog family." The cat man laughed. "Quite alright. Naruto-san warned me things like this might happen, Nayo." Huh. Turning to the group, he put his right hand over his chest and then bowed his head. "Forgive the late introductions. My name is Nyanta, Log Horizon, and I'm a member of one of Naruto's party members' party." "I'm sorry." Lee raised his hand. "What do you mean by that?" The man laughed lightly. "Well, to put this in easiest to follow terms, it is I'm a member of a party. But this party is led by someone that is part of Naruto's party and thus he follows Naruto Nayo." He winked. "Makes sense now." "Yes indeed, Mr. Nyanta." The man laughed. "Well, it is nice to finally meet some of the people that Naruto-san mentioned in passing. You should know that while the town might not like you guys, they are willing to give you one more chance, but trust me, mess this one up and your head will be on a pike." Pointing to the wall, they all paled seeing the skulls decorating some spikes sitting on the edge. "Fair point, Nayo." "Yes indeed." Kakashi smiled at the man. "My name is Kakashi Hatake and I would most definitely enjoy seeing some of the sights before we have to leave tomorrow." Nyanta laughed. "Of course, if you would follow me, Nayo." He motioned them with his hand. "I'll take you on a tour of the town, Nayo. Well, except for the noble district, as that would be difficult to reach and trust me, it is more trouble than it is worth, Nayo." "What do you mean?" Turning to Tenten, he smiled and she blushed at his look. "Simple." Pointing a claw finger to the docks on the coast, they saw some houses nestled in the middle of the water. More, the houses were not too far from the castle that was also sitting on the water as well. Those homes are hard to reach on a normal basis and most nobles tend to not like outsiders coming to bother them, especially with things coming up in the near future, Nayo. He motioned them to follow him past the center of the entrance and walked further into town. "What do you mean by events coming up?" Turning his head, he frowned before Ace answered. "There is an important event that is coming up and most of the nobles around here don't want to be bothered unless needed." Ace gave them a pointed look to drop the subject and thus the group did. They continued their excursion into the town. Arriving in the market district, the group saw a variety of shops and stalls selling wares that were similar to their own but other times different or foreign to them. One was selling what looked like blue crystals for cheap, and Ace and Nyanta explained they are water crystals that are used for creating water sources. Sometimes they are used as enchantments for weapons and gear that one might have. Other stores were selling food, mostly fish and other seafarer, due to it being one of their major forms of income. Nyanta eventually led them out of the market and into one of the shadier points of town, the red light district. While there, the group saw there was a large assortment of women of different looks, races, and sizes. Kakashi, he could not help it but got a bit of a nosebleed seeing all the sexy women with some dressed as women from some of the stories he read. "Kakashi, did you forget?" Turning his head to Kurenai, he saw the glare on her face. "Not to worry, my lady Nayo. In this district one can act on pervert instincts, but please keep your hands to yourself, Nayo. Also, if they say no, that means no and you are to walk away or be killed." HMPH. Sasuke was looking at the women in the district and was thinking sticking it to these filthy creatures, showing who was the superior race when he was around. However, before anything could come from this, they heard a thump. "Oh my gosh, my lady, I apologize, I was not looking where I was going." Everyone on Team 9-Lee gasped seeing the woman he bumped into, and she was looking irritated. Nyanta was sweating knowing the woman, while Ace sighed wondering if they were going to need to get ready to make a death report of an unknowing Junin. The woman was gorgeous, especially among the beautiful women in the room. She had long white hair, some floppy white rabbit ears, fluffy rabbit tail, and a killer figure. She had breasts that were easily bigger than most people's head, a thin waist, soft-looking ass, and sparkling green eyes. This girl in question was wearing a dark red top that was holding up her breasts along with a short black skirt that showed off her tail and her panties that were barely hidden from view. The woman looked up and before she could shout, she froze. The group thought it was because of how odd Guy looked, but Kakashi saw something on her face that he never thought would appear on a woman looking at Guy. A blush. Oh, it is all right, sir. Please don't worry about it. She dusted off her skirt and top while clearing some of the dust out of her tail. Regardless, madam, I was not looking where I was going and I would like to make it up to you. Especially since I'm new to town and unfamiliar with your culture, I don't want to cause offense. The group just palmed their heads, leave it to Guy to be open to strangers when apologizing to them. Well, the woman gained an almost demonic smile. If you really want to make it up to me, then come with me. I have something in mind you can do for me that will allow me to forgive you. She slowly motioned him to follow with one finger. Of course, anything to make it up to you. Forgive me, Kakashi. He bowed to the man. Would you mind watching my students while I deal with this mess? Kakashi looked at his friend and on in the inside was tearing his hair out in frustration and jealousy for what was going to happen to him. Sure, no problem. He smiled at him and watched as he walked off with the sexy bunny. Well, that is a good sign, Nayo. The group turned to the cat man and he had his arms crossing his chest. Never knew that Kerma to be into humans, but to each is her own. Before they could continue, Sasuke walked away with a stomp and walked up to one of the women near an alleyway. She looked at the teen and while the group could not hear what was being said, they knew the woman was offended. But for some reason her expression changed from anger to joy and then took the teen's arm in her own and walked him away into an alleyway. A's knowing something was upside. Let's go, we'll come and get him when we need to get to the hotel later. Nyanta agreed and continued to guide them through the district, hoping nothing else stupid might happen. Murphy's Law is a bitch. Out of one of the buildings stumbled a woman and she was obviously drunk, but all men and women were giving her a wide berth for some reason. That is why when Neji bumped into her, people hitched, fearing the worst from this confrontation. Watch where you are going, commoner. Neji turned to the woman but found his head in the ground with his head buried in the dirt. He tried to react and get his head out of the dirt but found his legs not responding after one brutal kick to his crotch, making him fall to the ground in pain. He could hear the woman was saying something, but thanks to the dirt he couldn't hear shit. Soon his legs were pulled up and he was being held upside down by a pissed off woman. She had short white hair, dark red eyes, and a bit of a tan complexion. But the thing that he noticed is she was dressed in nothing more than a skirt and loose white top with no signs of having a bra due to how her chest bounced. What do you have to say, fucker? Filthy commoner, how dare you lay a hand on a Hyuga? Our clan will. The woman swung him up and slammed him face first into the ground, causing the ground to crack. Wrong answer, fucker. From this point the woman picked his head up and threw him into the wall of the nearby building she walked out of, but Neji, gaining his bearings, quickly lashed out with some powerful strikes of his own. 8 trigrams. 64 palm strike. Soon powerful palm strikes were thrown into the woman and she stood there taking them. What the hell is she doing? Doesn't she know how dangerous taking moves like that are, and why is no one stopping this? Kurenai looked and saw that the White Fang were watching but not making a move. In fact, they seemed to be sweating. Now fall. Neji hit her directly in the chest and then he was hit into the ground with a vicious left hook to the back of the head. You first, dumbass. She cracked her knuckles, smiling viciously with her eyes turning into slits and gaining sharper canines. Now then, let's see how much of an ass whooping you deserve for interrupting my day off. Nyanta sighed. I guess this is a bad day, Hanayo. A's sighed. Yes it is, and quite honestly we should have seen it coming when we saw her first. Wait. Turning their heads they saw Choji pointing at the woman. You know who she is? Yep, I live here so I tend to know all people of great importance, Nayo. He smiled at the woman that was now literally stomping on the face of the asshole Hyuga, as she was calling him. She is a captain of a White Fang team and considered the most sadistic woman in the country. Trust me, you don't want to mess with her when she is drinking, hungover, waking up, falling asleep. Well, just never mess with her ever, Nayo. Nyanta winced seeing her delivering a brutal piledriver to the kid. She has a tendency to turn people to mush, but she should calm down soon when this bores her. The snapping of a bone and screaming he sweated. I think, or was that someone else, Nayo? The group eventually walked away from the attack, after being able to tear themselves away from a supposed noble and powerful clan getting their ass handed to them. Nyanta took them through more of the district and met up with friends of his and even talked up to some other cat women that looked just like him. Kakashi watched the man and saw something that stood out to him. You see it too. Kakashi looked at Asuma and nodded his head. Yes, he is truly a ladies' man, or at least a gentleman down to the smallest detail. He acts of a high social class and skill, but the thing that tells me is that he is someone of not such noble birth. Seeing him talk and flirt with the women in this district, he could draw a solid conclusion. Either he regularly visits this region of town or he grew up in something similar, if I had to guess. Good guess. Ace walked up to them while watching the girls yelling at the other women in the district and calling them names. Ace sighed, seeing one of them was a master of illusions and had done something subtle to them, making most look at them with disgust. Nyanta was raised in this district as a child. He grew up with most around here, including the woman you saw earlier beating the shit out of the Hyuga. Really? Kakashi sighed, seeing the girls screaming and crying about being ugly and how they were turned into monsters. The others around them were just confused, while he could see that they were caught in some kind of illusion making them think they were ugly. But he didn't have the heart to undo it or tell them, due to the fact they caused huge issues with the king and his family earlier in Naruto. So fuck them. Yep, most of the people in this district live here for most of their lives, but before that they were slaves. She frowned. Each was treated horribly or just treated like abominations and freaks or even sexual objects. This ultimately led to a reform in most kingdoms outlawing such behavior. I see. Asuma sighed. Some things never change, and that is the abuse and using others as objects. It seemed it was a thing even among demi-humans. Yes, Naruto is the reason they are living in this region and even have a new kingdom to call their own, as they did not want to bother another nation with their problems or become servants to others. From this point, Naruto led them here and claimed this land and ocean front for them, helping them build up their small country into something great. Naruto also told me, Kakashi, looking at the girls hugging and crying their eyes out begging for help, he sighed, they really need more training. That during his time of helping them build up their country there was other problems. Yes, there were a few that wanted revenge against the human kingdoms and sought to bring them to their knees and murder all that are related to those people. Naruto heard this and put a stop to this, claiming that doing this would be no better than those humans, but some were just too blinded to care. So eventually someone rose up and used his position with Blake to build a small army to help him invade a human kingdom. However, Naruto quickly put an end to it, with the assistance of Blake, ending the man's life and those that dared to continue with this behavior. A's sighed, looking up. Naruto regretted killing those people as he understood what it meant to be treated like an outcast and freak, and desiring to lash back and show them the same suffering they suffered. She gave him a pointed look and Kakashi nodded his head, but he didn't want them to be consumed by this rage and thus unleashing on people that were innocent or unaware that this is going on, or tried to help but failed in the end for one reason or another. A's nodded her head and sighed. Yes, ultimately they were all killed, and with a heavy heart Naruto took the sin on himself instead of the party. The people were horrified but understood, with Gira being one of his strongest supporters and claiming his actions saved their race and future country. In time he was welcomed as a hero, and soon the church started with his adventures becoming that of storybooks and interest of the children and those around them. Indeed. The fuck you say, asshole? Turning their heads they saw Nyanta looking down. Kiba. I'm sorry, did I say something that was incorrect? Nyo. You're damn right, you ass. Unlike your weak ass, I actually have talent to back me up. The man laughed while glancing at the child. Is that so? Then why is it that Naruto told me about how you know 1 or 2 moves and that is it? The teen growled. Oh yeah, well, that dumbass has failed our academy exams multiple times. What does that tell you about how Al's so great status? Simple, he prioritized helping us over passing some pointless exam that he could get a passing grade in easily. Nyo. What about you though? I hear you struggled on the exam and even had to do extra credit not to fail. Nyo. Kiba reached a boiling point. Asshole, you are fucking with the wrong man. I'll show you your place, you damn cat. Kiba charged at the man with his sharpened nails and fangs bared. Nyanta quickly countered with a quick sweep of the legs, sending him face first into a nearby wall, knocking him out. Sitting on his back he sighed while using his magic to summon a teacup into his hand. There he sat on Kiba while pouring a drink into his cup and drinking the tea. Akamaru jumped on top of his stupid master and soon got a drink himself as a teacup. He sat on Kiba's back and by some stretch he grew a hand on his paw and started drinking the tea. Quite the annoying dog. Nyo. Bark. Quite Nyo. Kurenai sighed while the others laughed at his misery. Thank you, mister. Everyone turned and saw that Sakura and Ino were holding in their hands stuff and were thanking a passing moving stall. No problem, ladies, enjoy the miracle dirt. He walked away and soon the girls were rubbing the stuff on their face. Soon we'll have our looks back, Ino. Yeah, and soon Sasuke-kun will love me. No way, forehead, he'll love me. No me, Ino pig. A's sighed and walked up to the girls and snapped her fingers, making the girls come out of their stupor. Ino, our faces. Yeah, but does this mean the dirt is magical? A's shook her head, wondering how there could be people this dumb in any world. Especially when they should have seen through that basic illusion. Hell, she and Naruto sucked at those, but even they would be able to see through that with ease. You two were in an illusion. They looked at this shocked. No way. There is no way I got caught in something so stupid. Forehead is right, we are too good for something like that. Ace just shook her head more. You did, and at the same time the dirt you girls have been rubbing on your face, well, hate to tell you that was cow shit. The girls looked stunned for a second and soon were vomiting at the thought of what they did. The group and people in the district, they were just laughing their heads off from the hilarious fact they were stupid enough to fall for something like this. Soon a broken Neji is thrown at the group with the white hair woman having a pissed off look on her face. Who the fuck is in charge of this weak ass piece of shit? That would be me for the time. Kakashi looked at the woman with a bit of fear. Hell, she looked like she could be Anko's long-lost sister the way she drank, dressed, and acted. Well, next time tell this little asshole not to test his luck with me. Understood, ma'am, but I should inform you that I'm only looking after them. Their teacher is with some bunny woman. This caught the woman's attention, and after looking at the man closely she smelled him. You smell tells me you're telling the truth. So the bunny woman, huh? That is one lucky son of a bitch, I'll tell you. I'm not lesbian, but I would definitely like a night with that sexy bunny. Too bad she is such a frigid bitch. Kakashi thought about how she was acting with his friend and wondered if that was the same person he saw. By the way, looking at the woman, she smiled predatorily at Kakashi and grabbed him by the front of his shirt. Since you are in charge of the student, then you should take responsibility of them. Meaning, she grinned bigger, you and I are going to blow off some steam. Kakashi's mind rebooted for a second. Come again. She rolled her eyes. We're going back to my place and we are going to fuck, dumbass. You better be ready, it takes me a while to get off. Without a chance to protest, the woman dragged off the confused and slightly aroused Kakashi, leaving Asuma and Kurenai sighing. Where is Naruto when you need him? Evening. Away from the group, Naruto walked down the street wearing a simple kimono with one arm in a sling due to not wanting to aggravate the wound. Beside him was Blake, who wore a kimono as well, and it showed off her curves without exposing her body. So, they really staying the night? Blake joked as she pointed out the red light district's direction. Yeah, Kakashi was attacked by Hitomi and Guy was smitten with Kurama. Naruto laughed as they walked down the evening lit street. Blake smiled, a light blush as she slowly reached out and took Naruto's hand, who reciprocated and grasped her hand. They walked and made small chat while the sun set, and soon, they ended on a cliff, overlooking a beach. This is romantic, Blake said as she leaned into Naruto. It is, Naruto replied, genuinely feeling the same as Blake. Blake looked at Naruto's face with the side of her eyes. Feeling brave, Blake leaned up, only to get Naruto's fingers on her lips. Blake, Naruto said as he moved to look at the cat girl, his hand removed from her lips. You know that, yeah, Blake said, slightly teary-eyed. She is first. I'm sorry, don't be, Blake said as she smiled, putting up a front. She is special. You got the ring. Yes, Naruto replied as he tapped his sleeve, where the ring case was. I am a little nervous. You will do okay. Go get her, Blake said before she kissed Naruto's cheek. For good luck. Short time later, Naruto was walking on the beach and was having a hard time gathering his thoughts. He knew this was a once-in-a-single-lifetime thing and it terrified him. I mean, fucking up here would be bad, fucking up here and it being with them is even worse. Hell, he hadn't even told his party about this decision due to the nature of the situation, and thus he is worried about the ramifications that this might have on them. But he had no choice. Thanks to the dumbasses, he was forced into a commitment he couldn't get out of due to this. He had to do this today or risk doing it in front of more people down the line. Hearing footsteps on the beach, he turned and saw Ace walking up to him in her usual white bodysuit. What did you want to see me here, Naruto-kun? Naruto fidgeted for a few seconds and took a deep breath. Honestly, there is something that I want to talk to you about. He looked at the water and smiled. I remember the day we first met. Ace raised an eyebrow. Yes, I remember you bumping into me and almost being tongue-tied when looking at me, that and you beat up Bet when he came to harass you. Yeah, not my best first impression I made, but still. He looked at Ace. Over the years we traveled, the more we fought together and the more we started to bond, I realized something. He smiled at her. In my 17 years of life I never felt this close to someone. Not with Kakashi, not with Iruka, not with Makoto, and not with Gigi. The truth is that you are the one thing in my life that is a constant that brings me joy. Naruto walked up to her and even with him being slightly taller he put his head on her forehead and looked her in the eyes. Now might not be the best time to do this, but in the end, I don't care much for other than I'm with you. Getting on one knee, he held her hand and she went wide-eyed and tears were coming down her face. Ace Wallenstein, will you make me the happiest person in the world and marry me? Ace cried. She was crying out tears, nearly collapsing from the revelation. It was really happening and it was not some bad dream she would wake up from soon. Yes, really, of course, she wiped the tears out of her face. I would love to be Mrs. Uzumaki. Naruto smiled, taking one of his hands into his pocket and pulled out a beautiful ruby ring with a golden band and small other gemstones on the ring surrounding the ruby. Putting it on her finger, Naruto watched as it glistened in the moonlight before standing up and kissing her. Unlike the other times they kissed, this one was more passionate and soon the two wrapped their arms around each other and held each other close. Not caring about time, not caring about location, and not caring about the world around them. They were each other's world and now they were going to make that official. That and another problem would be solved, but that was a problem for another time. Time skip. Naruto and Ace were walking around the red light district after their engagement and smiling and talking animatedly. Especially since Blake found them and was talking with them about their engagement and what the plans were. While they were talking, Naruto sensed someone in the nearby alleyway and motioned the girls to stop and wait for him. I'll be right back. All right, be careful, love. Naruto smiled. No worries, I'll be back before you know it. Naruto walked into the alleyway, disappearing from view. Blake looked at Ace. It must feel good to be his fiancé, huh? Yes. Ace smiled and she could sense the genuine joy in her eyes. That and this finally gives him a chance to deal with the something that we talked about for a while. Blake's eyes widened and smiled. Yes, that will be exciting for everyone. While the girls kept talking about the situation, Naruto was looking at someone with a grin on his face. This is just too much, but you so deserve this. Down below him was Sasuke, naked, with a note on his crotch showing not much there, blindfolded, gagged with his own boxers and from what he can see soiled in his mouth. And did he mention that he was naked? Yeah, butt-ass naked with nothing lying around him, even his sandals and wraps around his legs was gone. Naruto read the note and it said, there is so little there is no point in coming up with a joke. Naruto laughed a bit at this and just for all the pent-up frustration he kicked him in the balls for fun. He exited the alleyway and walked with the girls, calming them that it was just someone getting their just desserts. While they were confused, they did see one of the stalls passing by that it had a familiar blue shirt with a fan on the back for sale for a good price. Next morning, Hitomi purred as she lay on her side, a large satisfied smile on her face as she watched Kakashi silently getting dressed. You, Hitomi said with a smirk, her hand under her chin, her smirk faltering a bit as Kakashi pulled up his pants, covering his very red and marked ass. We're pretty decent, for a human. Kakashi didn't respond as he pulled his shirt over his head while Hitomi sat up, causing the blanket to fall, revealing her healthy naked body to the world. That eye of yours really got me hot. Expanding my senses with a simple glance, Hitomi said with a shiver from the memories of how Kakashi's Sharingan allowed her to feel sensations dozens of times stronger. Any girl here would want a piece of you, but I staked my claim, so come back anytime, hot stuff. Kakashi said nothing as he grabbed his head wrap to cover his eyes. Oh, not going to say anything? Hitomi asked as she grabbed his arm, pulling it into her body. Kakashi pulled his arm away from Hitomi and left the apartment. He will be back, Hitomi said as she watched Kakashi leave, scratching her stomach before it growled. I guess I'll get some food, then take a shower. Kakashi, meanwhile, winced with every step as he walked down the stairs, actually using the handrail. God, why did we have to do anal play? Kakashi berated as his ass hurt on top of his body being sore in general. I can never see Anko the same way again. She is tame compared to that woman. Kakashi made it to the bottom of the stairs and stopped for a second to run his hand through his sweat-soaked hair. I smell, Kakashi thought as he got a whiff of his body odor. I need a shower, or else Kurenai will fucking kill me. Kakashi walked slowly to the exit of the apartment complex. Hitomi's at the very top level, 3rd floor, and as he was about to leave, a nearby house door burst open. Guy and Kurama, the woman he met the day before, exited it. He was shirtless in a sense. The top part of his jumpsuit had been wrapped around his waist, while Kurama wore simple casual clothing of a simple bathrobe. No, I don't believe you can do push-ups with me on your back. Kurama stated with a large teasing smile. Oh, seeing is believing, now let me show you my youth. Guy said with a flashy smile. Youth. Oh, shoot up, sensitive hearing and it is 9 in the morning, asshole. Guy dropped to the standard push-up position, letting Kurma get on his back before he started doing push-ups. Guy, Kakashi gasped out, sort of desperately. Guy HM'd as he looked up, saw Kakashi, and smiled, not stopping the push-ups. Good morning, my eternal rival. May I ask what you are doing here in my partner's neighborhood this early? If you were looking for me, don't worry, I know where to go. Hey, Hitomi, from the third floor, called out, wearing a bathrobe, before Kakashi to talk. Pussy hands, here is a little something to remember me by. Kakashi, Guy, and Kurma looked up at Hitomi to see her throw something down at Kakashi, who caught it. Kakashi's nose became a geyser of blood when he unfolded a lacy thong, soaked in fluids and sweat. On the main part was Hitomi's name and a way to contact her. All of Kakashi's exhaustion caught up to him as his head started to feel light and spinning. Hitomi watched Kakashi sway before he started to collapse as his knee buckled, her thong flying into the air. This is the worst day of my life, Kakashi thought as he fell while his eyes started to close, allowing images of Minato, Kushina, and even his dad appear. Even more than your deaths. Kakashi, like the bodies, hit the floor, the thong landing on his face. Guy was confused while Kurma laughed. What the hell did I walk into? Guy and Kurma turned their attention to the voice and saw Naruto, Blake, and Ace. All of them wearing faces of confusion, disgust, and disappointment. The teams, consisting of Team 7, 8, 9, and 10 were all gathered at the gate. With Kakashi looking worse for wear and having Kurenai glaring. She had heard about what he had in his pocket and she was not happy about it in the least. Guy on the other hand congratulated his friend on finding a loving girlfriend even if when he slapped him on the back he winced. Turns out, claw nails hurt like hell and can tear open your back if you're not careful in the moment of pleasure. Who knew? On the other side of things, Sakura and Ino were glaring at Ace for what happened to them the previous day and how the people in town were laughing wherever they went. Sasuke, he's laughed at by the women and had to get an extra supply of clothes leaving him without most of his gear and normal look. For now, he is wearing a white t-shirt, black shorts, and some sandals. Guy is standing there and he had a smile on his face while explaining to Lee that the nice woman had asked him to be her cuddle friend, and thus he would return in the future. While Lee and Guy were clueless what this meant, Naruto did and decided against telling Guy what it means as it would just make the man freak out or cause another incident and he wanted to leave without that. Alright everyone, are we ready to leave? The group nodded their heads but they heard someone shouting at them. Turning their heads they saw Nayanta running up to them with Kiba growling at the man. Sorry for bothering at this time Naruto saw Minayo. It's fine, what is it? First I wanted to give you this. He held out a large brown pouch and dropped it into Naruto's hand. They could hear things jingle in it. This is the team's payment from the job, you, recut to be precise Nayo. Aw thanks. Naruto had a seal glow in his hand and sending the pouch away. Next, the king wanted me to ask you for a favor. What is it? Nayanta removed the child that was hiding behind him, revealing the little girl from the cave and that he left at the temple. Apparently this little one is the niece to a noble duke in the nearby nation. We got word from him that he would like her returned to him as soon as possible. Since you're leaving we are hoping you would do this for us. Sure. I don't think the Hokage would mind us doing this to improve relationships with other nations, right Kakashi? The masked man nodded his head and smiled. Yep, let's do it Naruto. Great. Naruto walked up to the child and she looked at her feet. Hey, you ready to head home? The child shyly nodded her head. Naruto squatted down and turned away from her and she quickly hopped onto his back with her arms around his neck while having her legs wrapped around his chest. Hold on tight, okay, came the low shy reply. With that Naruto and the shinobi and Kunoichi were off. Naruto leading the group with the little girl on his back and Ace standing next to him with hand on the hilt of her sword. Ready to strike if the time comes for it, Kakashi pulling up behind him while keeping an eye on Sakura and Sasuke who were in a group with their peers. The Junin surrounding the genin in the hopes of protecting them in case something comes up while Lee is talking about youth or something. Upon reaching a forest and walking through, Kakashi looked up at Naruto and asked. Naruto, about the country we are going to now. Yes, what exactly is the state of the country? Naruto smiled. The country is ruled by a king I helped a while back. Since I did this he welcomed us into the fold as a member of his hero guild. His brother, the Duke, also welcomed us after we managed to cure his wife of a horrible disease that almost robbed her from her family. I see. But, the nation itself is human-centric. They have other races from different realms but that does not mean they treat them as equals. Laws require they are to be respected and treated as peers, but as you can see that doesn't always happen. I see. Kakashi looked to his side and threw a kunai into a bushline but found it clinking against something. The group went on alert minus Naruto and Ace, who were just looking in that direction in boredom. That was rude. Out of the bushline came 3 people, 1 man and 2 girls. The man was dressed in some barbarian armor and having a green cloak around his shoulders, a shield on his left arm with a blue gem in the center of the shield. He had spiky black hair that was more controlled than Naruto's hair while having a slightly lighter complexion than most, with almost being the same degree as light brown. Next to him was a girl with long brown hair, ears poking out of the top of her head, dark brown eyes, and wearing a brown and white outfit that hugged her body not tightly but enough to show her figure. The girl in question was slightly shorter than the male individual, being around the same height as Ace and carrying a sword at her side as well, along with another on her back. The final girl was a short blonde girl with blue eyes, feather wings coming out of her back white as snow, and wearing a white and blue dress outfit. The girl seemed to be wearing some blue gloves on her hand and smiling brightly at everyone around her. Now Fumi. The group turned to Naruto, smiling at the man. I see you on a request. The man in question scoffed. Not really, we are here just gathering supplies for a potential invasion of one of the realms. You know, from the waves. Yeah, I know, but it is not for another day or 2, right? Now Fumi shook his head. It is about a week away, but it never hurts be prepared for a fight before it happens. After all, not all of us can be all-powerful like you. He glared slightly at Naruto's nonchalant attitude, making the teen scratch his cheek. Okay, fair point. Naruto walked up to him with the girl on his back, shying away from the unknown man but looking at the brown-haired girl and blonde with great curiosity. Naruto turned to the other 2 and smiled, making the brown-haired girl blush lightly. It is good to see you both are keeping up with Naofumi. Naruto punched him in the shoulder, making Naofumi wince. I'm sure he is still running you both ragged with requests and work, huh? Not at all, I am Naofumi-sama's sword, so it is no trouble. The brown-haired girl bowed. But it is good to see you again, Naruto-sama. Ace sighed. Raftalia, he doesn't like that honorific, you know that. Raftalia blushed at this mistake, but Naruto waved it off while pulling something out of his cloak. With a magic seal he reveals some apples, and the blonde jumped up and down. Here you go, Philo, eat up. Thank you, Naruto-sama. She quickly snatched the apples out of the air and ate them with great vigor while Naruto just laughed at this display. So, now Fumi, drawing attention back to himself with his arms crossed, you gonna introduce us to the people behind you? Naruto looked behind himself and saw the shinobi and Kunoichi relaxing but still on guard, making him sigh. Yeah, sorry about that. Turning to Kakashi he pointed. This is a dear friend of mine and sensei, Kakashi Hatake, and his other 2 students minus myself, Sasuke and Sakura. Now Fumi looked at them and just snorted before turning his attention to the rest of the group, making Sasuke annoyed being dismissed again. He would have complained, but after having his ass rammed by some pissed off women he was too sore to try again. That and Kakashi and the other Junin are watching them more closely to try and not muck up relationships more than he already has. Next, Naruto continued, as Kurenai Yuhi, who was the Junin in charge of Hinata Hyuga, Shino Aburame, and Kiba Inuzuka and his master Akamaru. The dog barked, and before Kiba could say a thing, Shino but hand on his shoulder signaling to keep his mouth shut. Then we have Team 10, who was led by Asuma Sarutobi and son of the Hokage, while those next to him are Shikamaru Nara, Choji Akamichi, and Ino Yamanaka. The group waved while Naofumi smirked at the sight of Shikamaru, thinking there were more to him than meets the eyes. Finally we have Guy, who is the leader of the team of Rock Lee, his mini-double, Neji Hyuga, and Tenten. The girl smiled at them and admired the weapons on hand, along with the fact that the teen is wielding a shield instead of an actual weapon to attack with. Neji just stayed silent, not wanting to get in more trouble now, and Lee was smiling and waving at the man who just waved back. So what are you guys doing out here? Naruto smiled, pointing to the child on his back, who hid behind his neck. This little one is needed to be taken back to her uncle the Duke. So we agreed to take her in, trying to improve relations with the demi-humans. Ah, I see. He smiled. Well, if you guys want, you can join us at our camp, as it is getting late. Seeing the sunset in the distance from the long travel, you won't reach the border soon, and the monsters around here are dangerous if you don't know what to look for. So best to stay at our camp while you have the chance. Naruto thought it over. He had a point. The woods get dangerous during the night cycle, and thanks to his own magic he can create a barrier around the camp, preventing monsters from coming near it, and if they did to attack they would disappear without them seeing it. Sure. Turning to Kakashi he nodded his head to his teacher and he agreed, given that this was the best option at the time. Walking back to the camp, the little girl was looking at Raphtalia and admiring her beauty but also her ears, which the woman saw and smiled. The girl thought she was caught for being rude, so she hid behind Naruto's neck again, but Raphtalia walked closer. You want to touch them? Yes please. Raphtalia leaned in closer and made her ears twitch, showing it was okay. She reached out and the little girl admired how soft the ears were at a touch. They're so soft. Raphtalia laughed lightly. You can feel my tail when we get back to camp if you want. She showed her long furry tail waving behind her and the little girl's eyes sparkled. While at the shrine she was so scared that she didn't have a chance to admire everyone around her or ask the questions she really wanted to, but now she is getting this chance and Raphtalia was being very supportive to the child. More so, she could see the scars on her arm and knew that this was from something horrible, and being a former slave, she knew that comfort was a rare thing and a welcome treat. At the camp, Naruto had quickly casted a large magical barrier around them before starting to help Aiz set up their tent. It was agreed that since the little girl was comfortable with Raphtalia and now Philo, who was letting her pet her feathers in amazement, that they could let her sleep with them. The child was happy and wanted this, while Raphtalia agreed, considering she could see the subtle signs of needing warmth at this time. Now Fumi was gone again and gathering supplies for his mission, with Guy going out to assist him, considering he felt bad he was going to do it on his own. While they were gone, Philo sighed. Man, I'm tired, time to change. Before anyone could act, a cloud of smoke appeared and in her place was a giant white bird with blue markings on her feathers along with a cowlick on the top of her head. Sugoi. The little girl walked up to Philo. You're really a Philoleel. She reached out but stopped from touching the bird, not sure if it was allowed. But Philo quickly approached her and offered her some comfort on her feathers, and before she knew it she was out like a light. Good to know Philo's feathers have this same affect. Raphtalia had finished setting up a tent and frowning at some of the people in the camp. More so the other girls. While she could see the black-hair woman and her student were fine setting up their tents along with the brown-hair one with weapons, the blonde and pink-hair girl were just gossiping and talking while adding nothing to help setting up the camp. Same could be said for the black-hair teen, was only glaring at Naruto and then at her for some reason. She didn't know and didn't ask but focused on finishing her tent setup before walking to the child. However, before she could reach her, she felt someone grab her wrist. Looking behind her, it was Sasuke. Bitch, do you not know how to address your betters? I do, but you're not one of them. She removed her hand and this made him growl. He grabbed her tail, making the girl furious. I didn't say you could talk to me like that, bitch. Listen closely, the rest of your race may have humiliated me but I won't take it from you. Aiz was about to intervene until Kakashi grabbed him by the back of his neck and pinned him to the ground with knee on his neck. He bowed his head. I'm sorry about him. It's fine. Raphtalia looked at the teen. Just a warning, touch my tail again, I'll remove the offending limbs. Also, be grateful now Fumi-sama was not here to see that, otherwise you wouldn't be breathing, consequences be damned. With that she walks off from the group and picks up the little girl and motions Philo to follow her into the slightly larger than normal tent to situate her and party. Kakashi sighed before glaring down at Sasuke. What the hell was this kid's problem? Ever since they first became a team it seemed he was determined to be the biggest asshole of the bunch. Honestly, if he had his way he would never had dealt with this and just took Naruto as his apprentice. The problem being that he is the only real person with a share in weight, not he wasn't. He knew there was his mother, she had the eyes too, and he could always get someone else to teach him instead, along with Sakura. Personally, she was the very thing that the academy was supposed to weed out, fangirl to the highest level. Her parents were great shinobi, with her father being in the running for the 4th Hokage at a time until he retired to be with his family. How could they allow such a disgraceful act to be part of their family, let alone join the forces? Ino. Well, she was a similar case and someone he knows. Asuma will talk about her behavior. Ino, did you not pack a tent? Kakashi looked over and saw Asuma glaring down at Ino, who was trying to look offended. Come on sensei, I needed the space to pack my extra clothes and makeup. Aiz looked behind her after making sure the post was set inside. This girl really needed help. Ino. Asuma sighed while rubbing his face. You'll be sleeping under the stars, and when we get back to the village I'm going to talk to your father about this. This is just ridiculous. I thought you packed properly. Yeah, I did. She showed her bag full of stuff that she wanted to bring, including the latest fashion magazine, and all anyone could do was palm their faces. Figures. Naruto turned to Ino and glared at her, making the girl shake a little but glare back. You really don't get the situation you are in, do you? Oh, like what, dead last? You shouldn't be talking down to an heiress, things have happened to people for less. She smirked arrogantly at Naruto but quickly found herself on the brunt end of Asuma smacking her across the back of her head. You should know better than to argue, especially when the Hokage who I will tell about this behavior, ordered all of us to follow his instructions. He took a puff of his cigarette. Since you are not taking this mission seriously, you two can sleep under the stars while the rest of us sleep in our tents. No tent, huh? How pathetic. Now Fumi walked up to the group with wood for the fire and some fruit. I know for a fact there are idiots that are ranked as low as copper that wouldn't do something as stupid as not bringing a tent. He put the wood on the fire and started up the flames while setting out the food for everyone, with Guy returning with some meat. Hey, no one asked you, asshole. Well, considering this asshole is stronger than you, I reserve the right to mock you. He smirked arrogantly at her, unless you want to try and prove me wrong. Enough. Naruto glared at the group and everyone could see his eyes are now gold. I've had enough of the complaining and bitching from everyone in this group. I told the Hokage this would happen, but against my judgment he still insisted on this. Make no mistake, the minute I get home, I'm going to give my report of this incident while also having to send a report to the Fire Daimyo as to why one of the nations in this world doesn't want to do possible trade missions with him. Now this made everyone shut up and pale, except Naofumi, who was confused about the prospect of the Fire Daimyo. As while the Hokage was the highest authority in the Hidden Leaf, he was the highest authority in the Land of Fire, and if he was expecting good relations and trades and that doesn't happen, they would all pay for this. He had a habit of executing people that annoyed him after removing his flimsy brother from the throne, who was easily manipulated by those in his court and removing them too from power. Naruto's eyes turned blue again before ordered. Kakashi, make sure all the genin are in their respective tents, or in the case of Ino and Sakura sleeping under a tree. Now Fumi, I'm sure you don't mind staying up, right? Nah, I don't sleep often anyway. Okay, Asuma and Kurenai, keep your genin in line, as the last thing we need is to piss off the Duke. You should know my word or not. You mess with people in this country or anger the Duke and he would have your head in an instant, got it? The rest of the teams agreed, while some more reluctant still, which Naruto knew were not going to get it until they are put in the crosshairs of people that are going to kill them. So, fuck them. Naruto, turning to Raftalia, she was showing a frown, the little one wants to see you. Saying something about a story to help her sleep, and I figured you telling her a story from your adventures is just what she needs. Okay. He finished his part for the tent and quickly walked into the child and Philo's tent while Naofumi snorted. Just like him, Naruto is always a bleeding heart to help all he can, especially children. Yes, he Naofumi-sama, but you shouldn't mock him, remember how we were saved by him. The shield hero sighed and nodded his head. Aiz sees the confusion on Kakashi's face after putting Sasuke in his tent and ordering him to stay there. Naofumi came to this world by alternate means like Naruto-kun. Really? Naofumi nodded his head. Yeah, but unlike him I can't go back to my world at all. Naruto tried to help, but unfortunately the teleportation method is complicated and impossible to predict where it would send me. I see. Kakashi sat with the man and Asuma and Kurenai joining. How did you meet Naruto though? Naofumi sat back and looked up at the stars. It was not too long after I came to this world. I was summoned by Melromark, a neutral kingdom, to be one of its 4 heroes to protect the land from monsters known as waves. Sadly, the shield is not a weapon of offense, and unfortunately I was also vilified by the king and his eldest daughter, who claimed I raped her. The group is shocked at this news while Aiz saw how uncomfortable this was getting took over. It was not too long after this Naruto-kun and I showed up for reasons of tension due to the summoning. Flashback. Thank you for coming with me to Melromark, Naruto. Naruto, being about 13 at this time, smiled. The man was looking at him in amazement. He had long purple hair, wearing a very flashy garb and carrying himself with great power and strength. This man had on a white turban with an interesting design on the front while having on a white toga robe on top of his purple top and blue long skirt. The man had jewels decorating his body and carried himself as a man of great wealth, and in reality he was, as he is known as, the Sultan of Agrabah. Sorry if this is wrong place, but just roll with it. And one of the countries that Naruto knew joined the Confederation in the defense against the other dark races. It is fine, Sinbad-sama, Magi, but I was kinda shocked you asked for us in particular, you know. Oh, the man smiled while riding in his carriage. The truth is that I wanted to meet the legendary rookies that have become gold-ranked adventurers in less than 3 years. A feat I might add I myself never was able to do, given it took me 5 years to reach this same rank. Thank you very much, your majesty. Naruto bowed his head, with Aiz, who was wearing her armor and white outfit beneath it, bowed as well. It's fine, and please none of that majesty stuff when it is just us, after all I too was an adventurer. He frowned. Now I'm sure you are wondering what the job is in particular. Yes, Aiz frowned. Normally one of your standing would not request gold rank adventurers unless you are doing something that doesn't require a show of force or something akin to as a minor errand. The man sighed and sat backwards. You're right about that. Normally I would just take my generals, but given how sensitive and tense the situation is, I can't afford them to leave my country in case something happens. Of course, he smiled. They protested me leaving without them, but I assured them when I hired you I would be more than well protected. He waved his arms dramatically. After all, I have the Sword Princess and the Golden Rookie. I should be in good hands. Your life is good as safe. Naruto kept a straight face, one of the few things that Hiruzen insisted on him learning when he wanted to talk politics. Naruto was no fool. He knew he would deal with nobles and alike, and the best way to learn about dealing with them and how to communicate a professional presence is to learn from the man that they call the professor. After many smacks with a ruler and having to repeat assignments, he learned fairly quick. He still winces whenever he hears Hiruzen smack a ruler in his hands and rubs the back of his head. As you two are aware, he looked out the window while seeing the world pass him by in boredom. Sinbad continued, I'm currently on shaky terms with Melromark, more due to the fact that the king and first princess have been causing issues on my border. More so, he frowned, they slapped me in the face by summoning the 4 cardinal heroes and then hoarding them on their border. He turned to Naruto and Aiz, which he smiled, so the queen and I made a deal. I could come to the country and claim one of the heroes for myself. In exchange I continued to do trade agreements. I see. And what is the 4 cardinal heroes, Sinbad-sama? Oh, that is simple. You see it as the 4 sacred weapons that are said to be passed down to certain people when summoned to this world. Such as the sword, spear, bow, and shield. Sadly, it would seem that every time they are summoned the shield is the first to die and then the others follow in quick succession. I see. Naruto looked at the man with conviction. You are not after the 4 heroes but more the shield hero. Saw threw me on that one, did you? Good for you. He pat the teen on the shoulder. Yes, he looked on sadly. Do the country's 3-hero church the people vilify the shield as a demon and monster, and while true in some sense due to the spirit that dwells in it, it is no reason to let the man die for not knowing any better. So my goal is go there, take the shield with me back to Agrabah, and try to show him all kingdoms are not like Melromark. Makes sense. Naruto looked at him and smiled. I think I would like to meet this shield hero and see how it is with such an unusual weapon. Indeed. Sinbad sighed and they 3 waited until the carriage stopped, which it did after a couple more hours. Exiting the carriage, Sinbad and Naruto and Aiz were greeted by a beautiful woman with long purple hair and wearing royal dress while having her hair in a bun. Next to her was a younger version with a lighter shade of purple hair and purple eyes having a frilly dress on compared to what he can guess is her mother. Greetings, Lord Sinbad. The woman bowed and so did her daughter along with her personal guard. Greetings to you, Lady Melromark. I would like you to meet my personal guards for this excursion. This is Aiz Wallenstein. The troops around the queen and princess were shocked to see the legendary sword princess standing before them with a blank expression, while the princess could only admire the grace this girl carried herself with, being only slightly older than herself. Next is the golden rookie Naruto Uzumaki. Now the queen was even more shocked seeing the legendary warrior. Naruto's exploits at this time were well known in all the kingdoms, and it was known that he was leading the movement to build the demi-humans another nation of their own, but one where would welcome all with open arms if kind, and if not then they welcome them with spears. Many kingdoms have supported his movement and she too wished to join this movement, but unfortunately her husband and daughter made that for naught. I see you were really wanting to make an impression, no? The queen hid her face behind her fan to hide her smile from the man, but he laughed. Well, I wanted to meet them personally, to be honest, but I figured this would be more than enough to deter most from trying me. His smile turned slightly thinner, plus we both know that I'm far from frail. True, she sighed. Come, we shall head to the theater as apparently something is going on and I just got word it has something to do with the spear and shield hero. With this the group proceeded through the dark streets with some of the citizens bowing to the nobles and looking at Naruto and Aiz with shock and interest. Before long they arrived in the theater but hid in the shadows to watch the match and see how things are progressing in terms of treatment of the shield. Down on the floor Naofumi was besting the spear by trapping him in a metal ball, and at the same time, he seemed to be enjoying his success while the king, who was watching, was annoyed. The shield is impressive. Sinbad rubbed his hands. He is using his defense as a powerful form of offense, and if he had a sword fighter with him they would kill the target after releasing at the last second. Soon the ball broke and he was hit with an air shield, making Sinbad laugh. Ingenious. But Naruto noticed something was off and he saw Naofumi covered in some kind of magic that was stunning him in place and making him weaker, leaving him open to the spear to attack him. Looking up, sensing the magic, he saw it was coming from some red-haired girl. Your Majesty, it would seem the spear has to cheat to win with the assistance of her. Naruto pointed to the girl and the queen frowned. Foolish daughter, she sighed, this is nothing more than a public humiliation of the shield hero. Sinbad looked at her with an annoyed glance. So do you truly still believe that he can be respected in this country still? No, I see our point. Naruto not wanting to watch this any further, and before the spear hero could try again he disappeared in a blur, slamming the flat part of his blade against the back of the man's head, sending him tumbling to the ground unconscious. The room broke out. Who the hell is that? How dare he do this? Execute him for interfering for the shield and just kill the shield. You dare interfere, I will have your head, outsider. Turning to the king, Naruto just snorted, and with one moment he flipped the bird to him and the princess. You cheated in this match, for the spear hero is to humiliate the shield, therefore the match is rendered in the favor of the shield hero and you are disqualified. Naruto then smiled, seeing the king about to shout at the guards, isn't that right Sinbad-sama, Queen Melromark? Out of the shadows and on the floor appeared the two mentioned, and while Sinbad was angry, the queen showed her fury with her glaring at her husband. The man cowered under his wife's gaze and his daughter was quickly restrained by her personal guard. This farce has gone on long enough. Turning to Naofumi, who was glaring at her, shield hero, as an apology for everything that has happened, allow me to give you 500 gold coins and give you the right to leave our country if you so please. Oh, turning his head he saw Sinbad smiling at him after turning his glare away from the room. Does that mean you want me for something then? Sinbad laughed. While it is true I would like your help with the waves, I more want to offer you a better home for yourself. Oh, yep, from here on you join my country, and while I would call you for the waves you are free to adventure and rank up as you please with no one stopping you. Naofumi got to his feet but found Naruto smiling at him and he growled. What are you looking at? Well shield, I was wondering if you and your partner, Raptalia, having joined their side after being released by the guards, would like to join me and Ace on our adventures. Naofumi glared at the teen. I don't even know you, how can I trust me? Naruto continued to smile while holding his hand out. You can't, but I can promise I'll earn your trust. The shield looked at him and saw Raptalia was wanting him to shake his hand, so he does but says. Fine, I'll join this other country and you, but the minute I get strong enough or find a way home I'm gone. Fine by me, welcome to the party shield hero. Name's Naofumi, get that right. Alright Naofumi. Flashback end. From this point, he traveled with me and Naruto for years. I see, Kakashi was interested in meeting this Sinbad as it sounded like he was a powerful warrior in his own right and someone that would make a great ally for the future. Yes, Ace yawned and stood to her feet. I'm going to bed, you guys try to not stay awake too long Naruto, and I will need you ready for anything on the trip back. Got it. Kakashi watched Ace close the tent between her and Naruto, who was looking at the side of the tent while sleeping in his sleeping bag. Ace tilted her head. You sense someone? Yeah, she smiled and kissed his cheek. If the barrier breaks Naofumi will tell us, for now get some sleep. She undressed and quickly snuggled up to Naruto, who smiled and held her close. Outside the barrier in the trees. Is she really in there with them? Yes, from what the information I got she is. Are you sure this is a good idea? Mine. I mean the queen, the girl scoffed. Don't worry, my mother won't know about this, and if this child is as dangerous as the contractor says then we need to deal with her tomorrow. Okay, whatever you say. The man in the tree line frowned and watched the barrier, waiting for the power to die down so they could get their job done. Never noticing Mine's wicked smile. Soon I'll be rid of the shield hero for humiliating me, the so-called golden duo, and with the kid's death I'll have more wealth than ever. Naruto woke up after seeing the sun peering through his tent. He sighed and quickly sat up but felt someone holding tightly to his right arm. Looking down he smiled. Holding his arm was Ace, who had his arms pinned to her chest and burying her head into his arm. She had a smile, making him smile before leaning down and kissing her forehead. This action had the power to lead out a whine and her eyes look up. Time to get up. Right, you're just so warm Naruto-kun. I know, you've told me in the past, but we need to get moving, as the sooner we head out the sooner we can deal with the pests surrounding us. Agreed. Ace rolled out of their shared sleeping bag before quickly changing into her armor and equipping her sword to her belt line. She didn't care that Naruto saw her naked, as he was the only one that would see her so. A while back a man tried to peeking on her while she was bathing in a nearby river, and this poor bastard was castrated by Naruto with a rusty kunai and then cauterized with his balls over a fire. Naruto had put on his armor and equipped his sword before leaving his tent, letting Ace tear it down. Sitting around the fireplace and making sure everyone was getting moving was Kakashi, Naofumi, Asuma, Kurenai, and Guy. Apparently the Junin were early risers and just wanted to get to the end of this mission as much as he did. Or that they were just early risers because they were in the field. Naruto looked and saw the genin were divided with Lee, Tenten, Hiba, Shino, and Hinata done with taking down their camping supplies and putting their gear away after eating a light amount of food. Sasuke, Sakura, and Ino on the other hand were struggling given they look like crap, the girls, and one just looked irritated, Sasuke. Looking over he saw Neji just sneering at Philo and Raftalia who were making sure the child was awake. Seeing everyone ready to go Naruto shouted, "Alright, let's get ready everyone. We are about to have visitors and they aren't friendly." Everyone but the idiots got ready as when Naruto waved his hand and the barrier came down, a large group appeared before them. Mostly, it consisted of knights all armed to the teeth and some magic casters among them. In the front, was a party consisting of only women with two being red heads, another being blonde swordswoman, and a man with a ponytail hair and a spear in his head wearing red and white armor. Great, the dumbass is here. Naruto coughed. Now Fumi was not too far off about that. Shield hero. For betraying the country and supporting a child that is obviously a descendant of a terror cell you shall pay. The spear pointed his weapon at them and tried to strike a heroic pose making the group of knights and mages cheer and the women fawn over him. Naruto and the others minus the idiots again, just deadpanned with Kurenai asking. Are all warriors like him Naruto? No. Naruto waved his hand and held his face in his other hand in shame. He is exceptional compared to most so don't worry. But trust me, like the Junin in the village they get weird if you look in the right places. Enough talking. You the self-proclaimed golden hero. A busty red-hair woman with green eyes glared at her and this made him just snort. Of course she was leading this whole debacle. You will pay for your crimes against my family and our kingdom. With your death the world will see the truth of what kind of a fraud you are and so will everyone here. Naruto turned his eyes slightly seeing the idiots almost buying into the idea of wanting to kill him to prove something. At least Sasuke looked like it while the other three were just wanting to see him humiliated by the looks in their eyes. Idiots, that is what he is surrounded by these days. Did he do something in a past life to be punished? Alternate universe, a Naruto wearing a orange jumpsuit and eating ramen sneezed and cried losing his bowl of ramen. Alright, everyone, it is time to fight. Protect the child at all costs. Now Fumi nodded his head, we'll sit back and protect her. Got it. Naruto turned his head to the Junin and other genin before sighing. Listen carefully, you are going to need to be proficient, don't waste a single motion. Kill all of the knights and preserve their heads and armor as much as you can. Naruto turned his eyes to the spear and party. Today, you show the world what you're worth. Don't falter men. Bitch smirked. Kill him and his evil followers. We must dispose of them before greater evil comes to this world than already has been seen. The knights charged forward. Naruto unsheathed his sword, then appeared in front of them. With one swift swipe he cut the head of 4 of the men clean off and watched their heads sail through the air before landing and thuds on the ground while blood spurted out of their bodies. They covered Naruto's body and his armor leaving him more evil looking to the group than before. Mages, fire your magic now. Naruto sighed, but before the mages could fire they found black stuff surrounding them and a shout. Fire style. Ash release. That word led to an explosion of fire and smoke leaving most of the mages dead. Asuma quickly charged in with his knuckle blades and started sliding through the magic caster while some screamed in pain holding their heads. What sorcery is this? The mage asking this question felt a blade running through his neck and he gurgled out his blood before falling over. Kurenai appeared behind him after dispelling the illusion around her body. They don't move too fast, huh? In the midst of the knights' rankings bodies were flying through the air as Guy was charging through them shouting about youth and showing them the way to enlightenment. Kakashi was following in there with his own attacks and even burning some of them alive with fireballs at close range before slicing through others with his kunai and shurikens. How boring is the strength of soldiers in this world. The genin were watching the carnage and some were taking it better than others but really grasping the difference in strength and power between them and the Junin and what they had to show them when it comes to fighting on the battlefield. Naruto on the other hand was fighting one of the knights with his sword and blocking and dodging most of his attacks. He quickly parried one of his moves and then sliced his head off in boredom letting it fall back to the genin where some turned green, white, or just threw up. They had a lot more training if they were going to do more missions like this in the near future. Naruto turned to the spear and saw him and his party fighting in A's and smiled. She was going to teach them. The reason she stood as his second was not for her love alone but because of her strength. The spear pointed his weapon at the blonde woman and smiled. You know it is a shame you took the side of a monster. I mean you saw what he did to all those people and even back then during the war when he burned. Shut up. The group saw the dark look in her eyes and her sword drawn. You weren't there, you didn't see anything or understand the suffering of others in the war. You have no right to talk about it or the actions we had to take on. A golden aura surrounded her. Naruto-kun's hand might be stained with blood but so are mine and we stand with one another through it all. She growled. I'll never forgive anyone for trying to tear down Naruto-kun. Within a flash she was on top of them with her sword slamming down on the spear hero. But he blocked the attack with his weapon but felt himself skidding backwards from the attack itself. Shit, she is strong. Damn, she is so pretty. I wish she would join my party. I mean, she could be a great. He quickly moved away from a swipe at his head that came from A's spinning in the air, but then she held her hand out releasing a ball of light at him. He blocked again with the handle of his spear but it forced him back and burned his hands. Looking up he saw the fury in her eyes and shouted, "Everyone, do it now." A's finds herself in a barrier with a purple magical seal beneath her. She turned to see the princess smiling at this and her friends gathering power in their weapons and firing them at her. She closed her eyes and the attacks hit. Ha, got that bitch. The princess spit in the direction of A's. Too bad she didn't know her place beneath me. She flaunted with her hair thrown behind her in an arrogant manner. Yes, it was sad but it was expected outcome. The swordswoman frowned, but we might have more trouble with the group. I wouldn't worry about it. The other red-hair girl smiled. We can dispatch this group and then we can stand tall having completed a service to this world. Yes, the spear hero pointed his weapon at the shield, but first I'm going to make you pay for cheating in our fight and trying to humiliate our country at the same time. Now Fumi sighed. You really are dumb. Don't assume someone is dead if you have no body to confirm it with. What are you? He found a foot planted against his face sending him flying into a tree and the girls paled. A stood there with not a single scratch on her clothing or body. How is this possible? That spell was supposed to keep you from escaping. A's closed her eyes and a golden aura surrounded her but there are tints of red in the mix. Let's just say that my lover has given me a part of his gift. Kakashi hearing this and seeing the aura, he paled. He gave her part of the Kyuubi's healing power. Is that even possible to do? Now then, A smiled slightly and her eyes glowed with a flame coming out of them. Time to send you all to hell. She charged in a blur but was cut off from a large torrent of blue and black fire and standing there was an aging man in a wizard's robe. Princess, please retreat with the spear hero. It seems that these monsters are beyond expectations. I shall cover your retreat. The princess tched, but knew she had to get back to the country to protect herself and build an alibi with her father to make sure the other countries can't come for her or demand anything from her. Thank you, Warad. Turning to the girls, grab Motoyasho, we are leaving. The girls nodded their head but the spear stood up with anger in his eyes. I'm not leaving until I take your head now, Fumi. It is your fault. Oh, what is my fault? Genuinely curious about what he did to him. You're the reason she died. One of my party members died because of you. The girls ran into you while on the border and you slaughtered while hiding behind the troops of Sinbad. Now where did you get that shit from? I was nowhere near that. I was in this country preparing for the upcoming. I'll hear no more. You'll die here and now. Motoyasu charged at Naofumi who just held his shield up and without struggling blocked the spear's driven strike. He pushed against his shield but he didn't falter, just pushing back against the spear forcing him to skid backwards. What? You didn't know? While you were busy soaking up the praise and love of the people, I was training my ass off and becoming mightier and mightier thanks to my comrades. I was trained to the point that I can fight on even footing with all of my friends. Shut up. They're monsters just like you. Naofumi growled and shouted, better than wastes of space like and the other two heroes and that stupid fucking king and bitchy whore of a daughter. This made the spear snap and jumped back charging up a powerful attack and aimed it at the shield hoping to kill him on the spot. The attack left his spear and rammed into his shield but he quickly sent it flying into the sky without resistance. Impossible. Motoyasu can't believe the asshole that was the biggest weakling of the four of them was now able to hold his own without ever attacking him. Motoyasu-sama, we are leaving. No, I'm not leaving, auntie. Naruto is standing there, his sword in his face and aimed at his throat while standing on his spear tip. Leave, spear hero, or I will end your life and the lives of all of those around you. Naruto's eyes turned gold but then the spear hero saw his eyes turned pure red and felt a dark presence washing over him. The others couldn't see it but he saw some kind of black being behind him. It had large black wings, black horns growing out of his head, red eyes like Naruto, and was made of pure malice. The evil coming off him made him shiver and nearly faint. A pull on the back of his armor brought him back to reality. He saw the princess and the others were leading him away from the fight and he didn't fight them this time. That guy, he looked at Naruto and saw him watching them flee. Something is really wrong about him. I have to report this to the country. Maybe we can then prepare with the church in erasing a monster, no a demon like him. Naruto sighed. It slipped out, knew it was going to happen. Hopefully he thinks it is demonic as I can explain that with Kyuubi, but if not then I'm in real trouble. Back with Ace, she was standing before the mage and just glared a hole in his head while he pointed his staff at him. Repent for your sins, heathen. A giant ball of fire was speeding her way but she just simply cleaved it in half, making it explode on opposite sides behind her. Is that all? Not even close, brat. He held his hand up and soon a powerful bolt of lighting came down from the sky and hit Ace. But the minute the attack cracked the ground, the wizard saw it was not due to the pressure he was putting out. Ace was blocking the attack with her sword sideways above her head and letting the impact bounce off the blade. With one quick swing she sent the blast into the forest, causing the area to shake from the amount of power she just redirected. The wizard growled, "So you can block elemental attacks, then let's see you stop this." He put his hand on the ground. "Come forth, I beseech you, great earth spirit." Ace watched a golem about 10 meters tall appear. The golem was made of pure metal and with glowing white eyes staring down at her. "I see you can't win by the elements, so you are expecting summoning magic to work then. Ha, I know you can cut through this being's armor due to him being made purely of spirit energy. Meaning physical attacks have no effect on him." Ace watched the golem charge forward and reach down. "You're right, physical attacks to his body doesn't work." She rushed forward and spun around with her blade cleaving through the space between the top of the armor and the bottom of the armor. When she landed on the ground, the armor collapsed and turned to dust. Impossible, there is nothing that can harm spirit energy in the human world. You're right, but you forget, the crystal in the opening is breakable and thus cutting off the spirit's being source. She walked slowly to the wizard who started to sweat badly. This was outside their estimations. "Stay away, heathen." The mage slammed his staff on the ground, making the ground shake and soon a pillar of earth shooting her into the air. He smiled, summoning 3 columns of earth and sent them speeding to the girl in the form that they would crash and crush her. Ace floated through the sky. "Nice to have some fresh air," she smiled. "I hope our wedding is bright and sunny." She blushed and soon images of their wedding night came to mind until she heard the earth columns coming. The mage was gaining a twisted smirk, waiting for the pillars. "Soon she'll be crushed and this will destroy the golden hero, allowing me to kill him and everyone here. I mean, most of them are unknown outsiders, but it looks like the children are the weakness, so all I have to do is." Sounds of cutting were heard and in a shocking display, the earth columns shattered into millions of pieces with Ace unharmed and falling back down to earth. But when she landed on one of the earth pieces she jumped between them in blinding fashion, leaving everyone struggling to find her. This isn't possible, not even the gods have this kind of strength. The wizard saw Ace sitting in a crouching position not too far from him and pushed off the stone, making it explode, aiming the blade at his head, but he summoned a slab of earth before putting some distance between them. Ace sighed. How annoying. She cut through the slab and landed on the ground in a crouch before standing up slowly. "You are not doing yourself any favors, so how about we just end this and you can die with some dignity instead of being tortured. I who is praying to the divine for guidance. Come forth and smite this heretic and bring rightful justice upon this world." Naruto looked up and saw a powerful beam of holy energy coming from the sky. Kakashi looked and shouted, "Ace, look out." The girl in question looked up and sighed. "Your funeral." Ace held up her hand and the attack hit her head on. A large explosion kicked up dust and left everyone unable to see what happened, with the wizard having fallen to the ground panting after having to cast such a powerful spell. Naruto sighed. "What was your plan after this? I mean, you know we are still here and that there is no way for you to escape, right? It doesn't matter." The wizard smiled darkly and gained a dark glint in his eyes. "With her death you lose your soul light in this world, showing that you can be hurt, and all of those that oppose the Church of the Three Heroes will perish." He laughed manically, leaving the group terrified about what happened. More so, the group was shocked. Naruto didn't look fazed in the slightest, along with the shield and his party. Sasuke and the other girls were happy Naruto's little friend died for insulting and disregarding them. It served her right for thinking she was superior to them. "Then your holy church is not going to survive much longer then." The wizard stopped laughing and Naruto pointed to the spot of the attack, and standing there was Ace. She was unharmed and she was holding a ball of light in her hand and then made dissipate. No, the wizard was stunned and his mind was falling apart. This isn't possible. There is no way that she could have survived that attack. It hit her direct on and it is power from heaven itself. That is the problem. Naruto smiled down at him while the wizard is still in shock. Ace has a special skill called Holy Alignment. This ability gives her the power to control holy-based attacks, cancel them out, and absorb them into her body. She can even use holy relics, weapons, tools, and equipment of other kinds without any formal training or requirements. I guess you could say she is the truest form of a woman that was meant to have the power of heaven at her beck and call. Naruto smiled at the wizard. So you wasted the spell that only increased her power and at the same time, teaching her how to cast it as well. No. This can't be happening. She is a heretic, a liar, a thief, she even raw. The wizard's head went flying into the sky and landed in a splat with his body falling over and spraying blood all over the grass. Ace wiped the blood off her blade and sheathed it while releasing a sigh. How annoying. Naruto walked up to her and grabbed her hand and turned her around in a twirl. Are you alright, Ace-chan? The girl smiled and after spinning laughed. Yes, I'm fine. Nothing I can't handle. But she kissed his cheek. But thanks for checking on me, it is sweet. Naruto smiled but then frowned while turning to the Junin. Do any of you have sealing scrolls on you? Kakashi and Asuma pulled out 2, Kurenai pulled out 3, and Guy pulled out 2. Good, listen, gather up all the bodies and make sure they are in preservation scrolls. We are going to need those whenever Melromark comes, and when they do, trust me, it is going to be messy. Naruto turned to the wizard and pulled his medallion. 3 Hero Church. Now Fumi growled. Nothing more than a glorified pit of liars and deceivers. Indeed. Naruto dropped the pendant and took out his own scroll sealing the body. This is going to be something the church won't worm out of, I swear this. Now Fumi nodded his head and went to check on the child, making sure she saw nothing of the massacre that went down while the genin were talked to by the Junin about what they saw and the truth of everything that was going on. Naruto just waited for them to finish and then they were going to be off again. After all, he wanted to reach the Duke as soon as possible. Hours later. Arriving at the port city, Naruto was happy to be among citizens again, with now Fumi more just annoyed by being in a city again, having bad history with people in crowded places like this. But he quickly smiled at the people that talked to him and excused his party so they could go and trade some of the stuff they had gathered in the forest to get more supplies for the upcoming wave attack. Naruto walked through town and both he and Ace were welcomed and eventually arrived at the Duke's home. Upon entering the home, Naruto told everyone to wait outside the main entrance and to not even think about wandering around or starting a single incident in the hall, or he would make them all pay deeply. In the living room with the Duke, the man sat in front of him. He had a long blonde beard tied up in front to keep it from bending all over the place. His hair was tied up in a ponytail while parts of his head was shaven on the sides with one stream line of hair on the center of his head. Naruto, the man, very gruff but in dressed up as one would expect for a noble, smiled. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for saving my niece. I feared what happened when I couldn't reach her or my brother and his wife. I'm happy to help and sorry I couldn't save the others. Naruto and Ace bowed their heads. I'm sorry there is no body to bury. The Duke frowned and sighed. Maybe it is better there is not, as I wouldn't like to see what those monsters did to my family. He gripped his knees, but now I fear for the mind of my niece and I don't know how to help her. My wife might be comforting, but neither of us know of what we can do to help ease her mind. Naruto looked at the Duke and saw his pain, so reaching into his pocket he summoned an item. Sir, putting the medallion on the table with the looks of a woman with her hands out on the front. Here, the Duke grabbed the medallion and looked at it in confusion. Naruto answered, go to the church in Center of Time and ask for Mother Tussa and show her this, she will know what you need and know I sent you. Trust me, she has amazing gift of helping children recover from the worst of things. The Duke held on the medallion, walked around the table, and pulled Naruto into a hug. Naruto was initially shocked but felt wet spots forming on his shoulder, before patting the man's back. After talking to the crying Duke about the attack, which he stated he knows who ordered the attack and he would deal with it, he paid Naruto for his work of bringing his niece home and hoped to see him soon. Naruto walked into the hall and smiled to the group, showing the bag of money, making the Junin smile while the genin got greedy. Some, not all, did. This is going to be sorted by the Hokage, who will hear my report and decide how much everyone gets. Naruto tucked the money on his beltline and had a strip of a seal put on the bag, while at the same time, Naruto pulled out the seal that brought them into this world. He put some chakra into it and in a bright flash they find themselves gone from the previous world and now back in the land of the shinobi. But unlike before, they ended up back in the Hokage's office with the Hokage just smoking his pipe while his clones did his paperwork and he was reading a minor report. Looking up, he smiled. How was the mission? A fucking chore, and I hate you for making me drag the rest of these people along for the ride. Hiruzen raised an eyebrow. What happened? Naruto started his recounting of the mission, what was said and done, the actions of the teams and Genin, why it took longer than expected, and the news of a party and requirement for him and Fire Dayamo to come to this event to make friends and alliances. At the end of the discussion Hiruzen was glaring murder at the Genin, and you could say, they learned some new words and new side of the third. Naruto on the other hand just rolled his eyes and threw the bag of money on the table. Divide this up as appropriate, I'm going home. He and Ace teleported, the Genin tried to leave but Hiruzen coughed. None of you are going anywhere, after all your parents are going to come and hear my report of all of you on this mission. He smiled and this made the group break out in sweat and fear. This is not going to be a fun few hours for the Genin but one of joy for the Junin, given they dealt with this mess in the first place and Kakashi praying he can just take on Naruto alone from here on, but hey, people don't always get their dream but keep praying Kakashi.